Hey guys, welcome back to our channel, as you seen in title and thumbnail. In this video we are going to see, what if Ash had to rebuild his destiny from zero. This is movie 2. Also check out the author of this story named, Master of Ages by, Edgy23. And for more comment down your thoughts and like share, also check out my Patreon to support me. All details in description. The four heroes braced themselves against the darkness. The levitating girl held her silvery cybernetic arms in a dainty pose. Brock and Duplica heard of recent technological advances in Team Rocket research. But nothing could have prepared them for what they were seeing. Years ago, Misty heard of the removal of Sabrina from the Saffron Gym by the Pokémon League for illicit and unsanctioned psychic experimentation. But little did she know she'd eventually be hired by Team Rocket as a living database and prized assassin. Ash recognized her somewhat, though her voice gave her away. He stepped forward rather bravely and spoke to her. Sabrina, so this is how you turned out in this world. I never broke you out of your spell with Haunter, so you never regained the heart you lost as a little girl. She closed her eyes, and bowed her head, reopening them with a cold stare. How dare you speak to me as if I were human? I am more machine than girl, and just as unloving and frigid. You do not belong here. You must die and feed the Pokémon of this island with your flesh. 2 Pokéballs morphed from her claw-like, silvery right hand. Go Alakazam. Go Xatu. With fire in his soul, Ash rallied his fearful, hesitant friends. Come on, guys. We can't quit now. We're gonna have to tag team. Call out your Pokémon. Pikachu, I choose you. Brock shook off his fear. Steelix is too big. Go, Magmar. Misty, encouraged by Ash, growled like a soldier. Misty calls Starmie. Duplica, eager for action, roared, Go, Jigglypuff. Sabrina looked on rather blankly and shape-shifted into a little metal girl with a ball. Playtime, tee-hee. Alakazam, Hyper Beam. Xatu, Drill Peck. Breaking from their original pairing, Ash and Misty quickly teamed up with their Pokémon, facing off against Alakazam. While Brock and Duplica banded together and faced off against Xatu. Pikachu, Reflect. Starmie, Light Screen. Defend yourself. Alakazam shot a fierce Hyper Beam. It rammed hard into Starmie's Light Screen, destroying it with ease, but running into Pikachu's Reflect. It continued pressing on, ultimately cracking it and coming through. Pikachu and Starmie quickly dodged the attack, with the beam heading towards Ash. Wah! Ash, look out! Misty yelled. He barely dodged the Hyper Beam, but was grazed rather nastily, receiving a thick burn across his arm from the friction. Ash cringed from the pain, but remained focused on the fight, while Misty ran to aid him. Don't worry about me. Keep your eye on your opponent, Mist. Right. Xatu spun its body towards its enemy in its Drill Peck assault. Magmar readied itself by making an air lens, while Jigglypuff stood next to Magmar using its defense curl. The psychic bird tore into Magmar with its long razor-sharp beak. The air lens broke, giving Magmar a nasty cut on the side of its gut, making it flinch. Duplica, knowing Brock usually defended when they battled together, took the offensive. Jigglypuff, roll-out attack. The familiar-looking Jigglypuff spun its body in the air, ramming full strength into Xatu's body, hitting its neck and knocking the wind out of it. Xatu crashed into the ground, but surprisingly, it quickly recovered and got back up for more. Both Duplica and Jigglypuff unleashed sweat drops as Sabrina's Xatu stood up unfazed. Brock, her Xatu withstood Jigglypuff's rollout. It's immune to its weaknesses somehow. A wary Brock stared at what he saw. These aren't your average Pokémon. Knowing Team Rocket, they may either be cybernetically or genetically enhanced. Sabrina, in the form of the metallic little girl, giggled, Oh. No Mr. Brock. My Pokémon are naturally trained. I've only tweaked their minds and bodies a bit with my brain waves. You're no fun. Tee-hee. The cyber psychic unleashed her psychic powers, causing headaches on both our heroes and their Pokémon. All except Ash, who held Misty while she twitched in pain. Pikachu was also unaffected, trying to bring the other Pokémon back to their senses. Ash, help me. My head. Misty yelled. AAARRGGHH. Do something, Ash. Brock shouted. Ash held Misty and looked at the metallic little girl illusion of Sabrina. He thought for a moment, remembering back to when he fought Sabrina back in Saffron Gym back in his world. Haunter was the one who broke her out of her spell, but it wasn't around to help. Think Ash, think. He needed to somehow snap Sabrina out of her spell. Pikachu stepped back little by little, as Xatu and Alakazam advanced threateningly towards it. Finally, it came to Ash. Sabrina mentioned earlier that Ash and Pikachu were immune to her mind. And Ash remembered back in his world, Sabrina shared a psychic link with her Pokémon, one that could be easily broken if Pikachu, shoot your Zap Cannon between Xatu and Alakazam. Kaaaaaaaaaccchhhh. Its Zap Cannon whistled past Xatu and Alakazam, catching Sabrina off guard as the super concentrated shot of electricity tore through the illusion she made and electrocuted her, damaging some of her circuitry. Grrraaaaaaahhhhhhh. No, she yelled as she fell to the ground, slamming into some detergents. Her Pokémon did likewise, as they dropped to the ground feeling the pain of their master. The room returned to normal, and Ash's friends and their Pokémon lost the headaches Sabrina had inflicted on them. Ash walked up to Sabrina triumphantly, while his companions slowly got up and followed. Sabrina gasped, "I am defeated. I am at your mercy." Her circuitry had been short-circuited and kept sparking up as Ash held his hand out. "Then, help me out. Why do you not destroy me?" Sabrina stuttered. "Why should I? I have nothing against you, and I'm not the kind that would destroy anyone. You are not of this world. I can't probe your mind. Where do you come from? I'm from the past, trying to protect my existence. And I need all the help I can get. I can see in the minds of your friends, and from what I see, your intentions are noble and true." Sabrina got up from the mess, grabbing onto Ash's hand. His friends stood behind him, cautious and protective of their friend. She reached out with her left hand and pulled out a small circuited card. "You want to return to your own time. I am the living database of this research facility, and I know of what you seek. The only Team Rocket lab I know of that is doing that kind of research is located beyond the Indigo Plateau, in Mt. Silver. Yes, you need the professor to gain access to that lab. He is being held on the far corner of the second floor, in the Classified Research Division. This card will give you clearance." Ash quickly pocketed the card and thanked Sabrina. He started to turn around to others, but Sabrina quickly added a disconcerting comment. "Ash, be forewarned. The elite Team Rocket executives who ordered his kidnapping are headed over here soon. I suggest you quickly free the professor and leave this island, or you may have to face them in combat." "Team Rocket executives?" Ash questioned. Sabrina spoke their names slowly, almost fearful: Jesse, James, and Persian. "Wah?" Misty whispered to Ash, "Wait, weren't those the 3 rockets you fought in your timeline, Ash?" "Yeah, but we always beat 'em though. We shouldn't have much to worry about." Sabrina turned away. "Don't underestimate them, friend. Even on E of them is 10 times more powerful than I. Till we meet again, hero." With those words, she phased into thin air and vanished. Duplica nodded in agreement. "I agree with this. Sabrina, we gotta nab the professor and split. I heard rumors about those 3 rocket execs. They've funded a lot of private experiments with Pokegenics and I don't want to stick around to see what comes out of their Pokeballs. Let's go." And the teams have changed. It's best if Ash goes with Misty and I go with Duplica. It seems you two work well together, and that'd be best. Right. Ash and Misty looked at each other with a friendly glare. Right. Yeah. James looked on towards the horizon. They had just flown past Fuchsia City, with Jessibel Meadows looming in the background. He loathed the sight of it. The breeze of the wind gave him a prophetic chill that ran up his spine, much like the thought of Jessibel would. He turned towards Jessie, who was looking in the opposite direction, looking down at the beach they just passed. She remembered the first time she met James in Pokemon Tech. The night before they had taken their infamous exams, she invited him to the pool for a drink. They had just come back from a party, and though she would never admit it to him ever, she was rather smitten by James at the time. Just an excuse to see him in swimming trunks. She cracked a faint smile at the memory. "Jess, what's so amusing?" "Huh, what do you mean, James? It's a rarity to see you smile. Like a rare flower that blooms once a year. Normally, I would be flattered by such a compliment, but for now, mind your business." Quote. Persian Meowth had fallen asleep in between them. It was having a rather disturbing dream, one that had recurred to him several times before. It was fighting a strange shadow on a grassy plain, with dark clouds looming on the horizon. It pranced into a fighting pose, readying itself to strike at his opponent with its slash attack. In a blinding flash, they lunged at each other with claws outstretched. SSSLLAAASSSHHH. The two turned a calculating eye back towards each other. Little by little, Persian Meowth fell to the ground, with blood flowing out of the side of its chest. The strange shadow came closer, until it came in full view of Persian Meowth's eyes. It looked like a Persian, but had heavier claws, hands and feet, and spoke with the intellect of a scientist. Do you not realize your destiny, Meowth? Persian Meowth pulled itself away. Grr, begone from me. Look upon yourself. You are the first and only of your kind to walk and speak like a human. I'm still a weak Pokemon. Nothing more, but a freak. Ha, you still fawn over that Meowth girl. The one who called you a freak. Well, she missed out. Missed out on contributing to the gene pool of a new species. What do you mean? You still don't get it. Look at yourself. You were poised and chosen for a new evolution. You will become me. I am Siam. He awoke startled. Huh. Meowth, are you all right? James asked. Jessie, with an evil grin, said, I didn't want to wake you, but you slashed open the upholstery. Nothing a little money won't cure, Persian Meowth growled. Have we reached our Cinnabar base yet? We'll be there in a few more hours, Meowth. Go back to sleep, Jessie whispered. James looked on towards the afternoon sun. It had a strange glow, reminding him of the days they spent in the old Meowth balloon traveling across the continent, stealing rare Pokémon for their boss. A small tear formed in his eye, for he realized at that very moment. He had lost the friends he cherished so long ago. The two who sat next to him had become vicious shells of their former selves. Money, power, the high life. It was those things that compelled him to run away from his parents and Jessibelle in the first place. Ironically, his only two best friends in the world had come to personify the very things that he ran away from. He turned to look at Persian, who had fallen back to sleep. And finally to Jessie, still looking toward the ocean with a solemn face. Security check is complete. You may enter. The door approved of their card and they had entered. Ash walked ahead with Pikachu with Brock alongside him, while Misty followed Duplica, who ran to a nearby server. Duplica plugged in her laptop on the server and tapped in some coding. What are you doing, Duplica? Misty asked. I'm uploading and activating a small stealth program I created for these kinds of missions. I call it Deja Vu. It loops the last 24 hours of footage on all the security cameras. That way, they won't see us sneak in or out. That and it erases itself from the hard drive when it's done so it can't be detected. Cool. Ash and Brock were greeted by two guards, who were securing Professor Oak. Hey, we weren't expecting more guards here. Where's your authorization? Before Ash could answer, Brock quickly punched one guard and kicked the other guard square in the gut. With the guard kneeling down, Brock gave him a hard elbow on the back, knocking him out rather quickly. There are times when you just can't resort to a lengthy Pokémon battle. Quick, Ash, take their hats and their guns. We're gonna need 'em if we're gonna escape. Ash quickly grabbed their guns and their weapons, and ran to Professor Oak, a little startled by what's going on. He ran to untie Professor Oak, who was very glad to have seen he was being rescued. Oh, this is great. Gary must have sent you, right? Gee, Gary. No, Professor Oak, my name's Ash. We came here to save you. But, why? We'll talk later. But first we have to escape this island. The research department sent us to escort this dangerous waste out personally. The lab geeks said we should dump in a rather concealed spot. Good. The sea's up ahead. Take one of the speedboats and report back pronto, hot stuff. With those words, the rocket grunt handed Misty the key to speedboat No. 18. And gave her a lusty wink. Misty, resisting the urge to beat the snot out of him, sweat dropped, giggled insincerely, and joined her friends who were pushing the rather large recycle bin, stashed with a certain professor, down to their speedboat. Running to meet up with them, she accidentally dropped the ID card she stole from one of the rocket grunts earlier. The infatuated rocket grunt, after staring at Misty's alluring butt for several seconds, noticed she dropped something. He ran up to the card and picked it up. Miss. You dropped your. He looked at the card and noticed his newfound object. Tea of Desire's face didn't exactly match the picture on the card. Misty turned around and quickly realized what a major goof she just made. Intruders. Sound the alarm. Her friends turned around. Man, she blew our cover. Duplica groaned, smacking her head in disappointment. Chaw. Misty. Misty, come on. Ash yelled, getting off the boat and running towards Misty. She gasped quickly and ran down the long dock. Ash stopped for a moment and grabbed her by the hand, pulling her even faster towards the boat. Once reaching the boat, he let go of Misty and got in, though there was a big problem. Brock yelled, "We're not gonna be able to get out. They haven't opened the gate leading outside. And they're not going to, now. The controls are too far off." Duplica added. Ash, with the courage that only desperation can bring, called to Pikachu, "Come on, Peek. We're gonna have to do this." They jumped out of the boat, running out towards an oncoming mob of armed rocket grunts. "No, Ash, you'll get killed," Misty yelled as she reached out for him too late. Ash held Pikachu under one of his arms and commanded, "Pikachu, use your reflect." With those words, Pikachu unleashed a powerful barrier. The grunts fired at Ash, but were soon met by some of their bullets ricocheting back towards them. "Ahhhhh. Hold your fire." Ash ran into the small gatehouse, and taking a cue from Brock, punched out the unarmed attendant. With his hand stinging from the impact, Ash activated the controls for the gate, allowing for their escape. Duplica stood amazed. He did it. He activated the controls. Brock yelled, "Ash, jam the controls somehow so they can't close it again." Misty stood there, speechless, with a sense of guilt looming over her head. The young hero heard the movement of footsteps coming in his direction. The gate had opened enough for them to leave, so Ash quickly placed Pikachu next to the controls and commanded, "Pikachu, thundershock the controls." With AI City, the little mouse fried the circuitry, freezing the gate in place. Ash quickly grabbed Pikachu and jumped out of the gatehouse. They made their way to the boat and jumped in, with Brock already having started up the engine in anticipation of his return. "Wing that mother, Brock!" Duplica yelled in enthusiasm, impressed by Ash's exploits. "You're alive," Misty said, hugging Ash with a light smile. "I'm sorry, it's all my fault." Ash, still a little aggressive from his recent brush with death, sternly said to her, "Come on, Misty. Don't get soft on me now. We're not out of the woods yet." He noticed several of the rocket grunts had already boarded some of the other speedboats and were making chase. The four heroes raced out of the inlet, breezing past the gate. An excited Professor Oak jumped out of the bin, wondering what the commotion was all about. "Wow, I've only seen this stuff on TV." Oak grinned. Ash quickly called to the professor and told him to stay down, for the grunts were firing in their direction as they sped towards them, and he couldn't risk having a dead professor. Duplica called to Ash, "Ash, now that we're in the cave, we only have one chance to prevent them from chasing us out into the ocean. You're gonna have to cause a cave-in somehow." As everyone crouched down while enemy fire rained down in their direction, Ash quickly called Pikachu to him and said, "Pikachu, you're gonna have to use up all your power with Zap Cannon. Aim at the ceiling as we go. When I squeeze you a little, use your Zap Cannon. Got it, Pika, you got it." Ash, somewhat protected from Pikachu's electricity by the Team Rocket gloves, aimed Pikachu's face at the cave ceiling swiftly and squeezed. Catchu. FWABOOOMMM. Well-sized boulders fell down, shaking up some of the speedboats that followed. Some falling directly on top of and destroying some speedboats, while others rammed into the cave walls trying to avoid a boulder. Catchu. BBBOOMMM. Splash. Catchu. Frack BBBAAAMMM. Drip. Splosh. Pikachu had tired out, but all seemed well. No one was on their trail. Ash breathed a sigh of relief. Looks like the coast is clear. Phew. No. Look. Misty yelled. In the distance, a huge hovercraft barreled down fast, quickly gaining speed, with really nasty-looking heavy artillery popping out of every corner. Professor Oak peeked out of the recycle bin, with a big sweat drop coming off his forehead. "We're doomed." Pikachu sighed, completely out of juice, unable to shoot any more Zap Cannons. Ash muttered, "Pikachu's tired. I can't do any more." Out of nowhere, Misty came in front of Ash. I owe you for screwing up and putting you in danger, Ash. I'll take it from here. Go, Dragonite. Dragonite came out and hovered above their speedboat, following it as it skated across the dark waters. Before Misty could react, the looming hovercraft fired several shells at their boat, with one headed straight at them. Misty, look out, Ash yelled. Ah, she shouted. He quickly grabbed her by the waist and pulled her away from the direction of the oncoming mortar shell. It exploded on the back end of their speedboat, shattering the engine into pieces. Brock fumbled at the wheel, almost losing control of the boat. But with Duplica's help managed to keep control of the crippled vessel. Fortunately, the boat's inertia kept it speeding forward, closing in on the cave's exit, B. Unfortunately they were starting to slow, with the behemoth hovercraft reloading its fearsome guns. Misty had fallen on top of Ash, blushing with guilt as she quickly got up and commanded her Dragonite. Just as they were reaching the end of the cave. It's my turn to save you, Ash, she thought to herself before she yelled, Dragonite, hyper beam across the top of the cave. With those words, Dragonite ripped a mean hyper beam to the ceiling of the cave, tearing down and crumbling the passage leading outside. The broken speedboat barely rushed out of the cascade of stones and boulders which had rained down, destroying the hovercraft, and caving in the inlet behind them, preventing any more Team Rocket grunts from following. All right, we made it, Brock shouted in triumph. Duplica exclaimed alongside her partner, cool. That was an awesome mission. Professor Oak stuck his head out of the bin, ooh. I'm alive, thanks to you. Pika, Pika, woohoo, woohoo. A dizzy Ash, on the ground, shook his head. Still recovering from the impact he received from being sandwiched between the hard floor of the boat and a falling Misty. He winced in discomfort until a hand quickly came in front, accompanied by the rather melancholy face of Misty. Ash, I'm sorry. It's my fault you were in danger. He took her hand. No, it's okay. We're friends, right? We looked out for each other, right? Misty made a sweet smile and nodded, right? An overexcited and concerned Professor Oak interrupted their burgeoning moment. If you two don't mind, the boat's wrecked and we need to get as far away from the island as possible. It won't take long before they start looking for us. Oak's right, Duplica added, how are we gonna ride out of here without a ride? Easy, Ms. Tai said as she recalled Dragonite and fumbled for another Pokeball. Go, Grumpback. The massive whale materialized onto the water, with its back ready for transport. Everyone climbed on Grumpback's back, settling onto a hump and readying themselves for the ride. Where are we headed? Misty asked. Oak quickly interjected, I recommend Porta Vista. My summer home and backup lab are there, and it's very concealed from the likes of Team Rocket. Whatever you do, don't head back to Pallet, since they might expect me to return there. All right then. Grumpback, set sail for Porta Vista. Misty commanded. Grump. The massive whale huffed as it paced speedily towards its destination, while our heroes rested on their backs, completely exhausted, yet with the gentle, pleasant pain that comes with a job well done. The sun was beginning to set, shining upon them as they went and pondered the events and emotions of the day. I'm sorry I had to delay our meeting, Mr. Oak. May I call you Gary? Yes, Mr. Giovanni. Thank you. As you can see, this little boy and his Pikachu have caused me much harm. In the past, he foiled several of my agent's schemes. I've always wondered how my organization would have fared without his existence. And, hey, as I can see, not only has my organization flourished, even my most incompetent agents have turned into fearsome players in the international crime circle. Pardon me for interrupting, Mr. Giovanni, but you said you had a proposal for me. I like you, Gary. Blunt and straight to the point. I want to make a proposition. This time travel machine can become power itself. I've funded your sister's brilliant research for the past 3 years, and I wanted to know if you would be interested in becoming a member within our organization. We'd love to fully utilize the machine's abilities for our purposes. Tempting, but what purposes do you mean? Oh, just a hostile takeover, a global takeover, if you get my drift. The 18-year Gary may have been conceited. Never having learned the humility he would have learned if Ash had existed in his life, still had a glimmer of a decent conscience and told Giovanni, I'm sorry. I can't give you an answer right now. We should make another meeting to discuss this in greater detail. Until then, I have to respectfully decline. Giovanni, in the back of his mind, said to himself, afraid to wield the world in your hand, boy. Well, my best executives should have the very incentive you need to make up your mind. Very well, then. Another meeting then, Giovanni said with a sinister grin. Bang, scratch. The base was filled with silence. The three had arrived on the island. Merciless, unrelenting. In a whimper of words, the supervisor of the base told Jesse, James, and Persian Meowth of what had transpired. Having the mindset of gods, they called everyone to the Mineral Valley. With the supervisors lined up, Inez stood aside as Jessie made her quick speech to the masses of underlings. They paid no mind to their superiors. Until Persian Meowth unleashed the full fury of his might on all the supervisors, beating and scratching many of them close to death, though James was quick to have them brought to the medical facility and transferred to another TR base. Sentimental fool, Jessie and Meowth thought to themselves. After their pep talk occurred, they personally dragged the security supervisor to the surveillance room. They had the bloodied manager forward and rewind the surveillance, until Jessie spotted some peculiar occurrence near the end of the tape. She saw four rather peculiar rookies gaining access to the research division of the base, with one plugging up one of the servers and hacking into the database. Persian Meowth violently pushed the supervisor aside and, with an expedient flick of its claws, rewound and froze a part of the tape. All four of the intruders were in full view, as Jessie glared at them with the darkest of glares. James stared in disbelief. That girl's face, it seemed so familiar. Jessie whispered evilly, Misty Waterflower, the Indigo Champ. Why would she come here and do something so damaging to her reputation as a Pokémon master, breaking into a private facility? It seems our target decided to strike at us first. Persian Meowth purred, not a good, sensible, or anticipated move. But, whatever compelled her to do what she just did to us deserves our vengeance. Agree. Yes, Meowth. James, do gather the radar records and try to estimate the direction in which they headed after they escaped. James did as he was told, but felt uncomfortable as he gathered the records. With every file he gathered off the database, he remembered how he cheered Misty on at the last league championship. He heard of the old cerulean gym, of the three sisters who had raised her. Perhaps with a steely hand, but a loving one nonetheless. But for a rocket exec, a conscience was supposed to be a handicap. Yet as the years went by, it haunted him like no other, eclipsing his yearn for wealth and power. Sooner or later, he would have to choose between his heart or his job, and the day was drawing closer by the second. James, what are you waiting for? Get on. With that, he got on the chopper and tapped into his laptop, and within a few minutes, he figured out where they headed with the radar record coordinates. Porta Vista, he let out, as the pilot swung the helicopter into the sunset. That's a rather interesting and intriguing story, Ash. Imagine this world being the result of you not ever going on your journey, Professor Oak said with wide eyes. The four heroes and the professor had made their way to his summer home in Porta Vista. It stood atop a high ledge overlooking the ocean. Underneath the bungalow, his lab was a veritable Area 51. Having several levels and hidden areas. They had stowed away in the far corner of the third level, in a cozy den, where Ash had recounted his story to Professor Oak, who had listened with great interest and great dread. It was a private conversation, for his friends had taken off for a stroll on the grounds. Brock fell asleep in one of the guest rooms, while Duplica and Misty reclined against the edge of the bungalow, overlooking the majestic view of the dark blue ocean, with the moon looming on the horizon, adding its haunting shine on the ocean. Duplica, eager to talk to another female, started up a conversation. Asides from you blowing our cover, that was a great mission, and I have to say I was impressed by that Dragonite of yours. Thanks. Duplica paused for a moment, wondering what to say next. I guess Ash'll be leaving soon, then, since we know the location of the time machine. Yeah, Misty said as she stared deep into the moon. Misty, do you like Ash? Duplica said, completely forsaking her flair for subtlety. The 18-year-old water Pokémon master blushed and looked downward, pausing for a long time until she answered, it's been difficult to hide, even harder to accept. Well, look on the bright side. He'll be reunited with a younger you in his timeline. Right, yeah, but, you don't understand. Understand what? How will I turn out when he comes back into my life? Will I still be the same, better, or worse? I followed him for reasons in his timeline that have never been made clear to me. He never told me why we were together. Or why we stuck together for so long. Friendship could never be that strong, could it? Did he, like me? Duplica was stunned by Misty, having shared similar doubts about Ash, believe it or not. I know how you feel. When I touched Ash's mind in the flame that his watchdog made, I didn't see much, only me restoring the Amite house, with Ditto completely able to transform perfectly. You guys helped me out, but... Misty listened on with heightened interest, but what, Duplica? But... Brock left me, in his timeline, she said in a rather sad, low tone. You like Brock? Misty said with a tinge of shock. You act surprised, Misty. It seems we both have the same problem. We have great guys who are our best friends, yet they're too stupid to see how much they're loved by the girl sitting right next to them. Misty let out a sad whimper. Yeah. It's weird. I've only known Ash for 5 days, yet I feel like I've known him my whole life. I can't stand the thought of him leaving me to go back to his time. Even if he is going back to a younger me. You don't want to lose him, do you? Duplica said rather solemnly. I can't do anything about it, Misty said, ho. Lding back tears while running away from the edge of the bungalow. Duplica, a little upset at Misty's sensitivity, come on. You can't give up just like that. Follow your heart, Misty, just like me. I'm gonna try my best to keep Brock in my life no matter what. And you should do the same with Ash. Tell him how you feel. You can be subtle, and if that doesn't work, smack him over the head with your mallet until he gets it. Misty spun around to look at her and made a determined face and a peace sign, Ash Ketchum. Prepare to be infatuated by the awesome sex might of Misty Waterflower, Pock. Emin master and soon to be master of your heart. Duplica made a major sweat drop and lifted her eyebrows as she thought to herself, gee, she's got spirit. Professor Oak, Ash and Pikachu made their way out towards the elevator. Planning their next move, Samuel Oak was the quickest to believe Ash's story, since he was privy to the research his granddaughter conducted and understood the situation better than anybody could. I can call my grandson Gary to give you clearance to his lab, though we're gonna have to persuade May to destroy all her research with space-time displacement. May Pine. You know May, Ash. Yeah, I used to play with her when I was a little kid, but, she's your granddaughter. Then that means, she's Gary's older sister. I haven't heard her called May Pine in a long time. That's her mom's name. Ash had a small piece of the puzzle of his life and fitted in a corner of his mind. Still fresh from the shock of hearing May was related to Gary, he wandered out of Oak's home. With Oak escorting him out, giving him a key, I'll make the calls tonight. In the meantime, you are free to stay here in any of the guest quarters. Relax and go into town. Port Avista is hosting the Moon Spirit Festival tonight, and it's ideal for fun. Good night, Ash, and don't brood too much about your situation. You're too young for that. With those words, Ash and Pikachu strolled out for a while. With no real aim to their wandering, finally setting on the steps of one of the bungalows. He sat down and bowed his head, and against Oak's advice, brooded like crazy. Chew. Oh boy. He brooded for what seemed like an hour, until someone called out to him. There you are. I've been looking for you everywhere. Ash said as he turned around, and almost fell back at what he was seeing. A girl was wearing a beautiful low-cut white dress adorned with the frills reaching about mid-thigh, revealing white lace caressing her long, shapely legs down to her white high heels. Her arms were covered with web-like sleeves, riding past the elbow. She wore a sparkling blue necklace with a sapphire drop at the very tip. Her face was alluringly painted, with deep red lipstick covering her lips outlined with a dark purple. She painted her eyelids with a passionate shade of baby blue, and her blush was perfectly blended into her soft cheeks. But something was missing. The girl had done away with the chocolate hue which she had painted her hair, and instead, her flamey orange, natural hair cascaded from her beautiful head. Misty. In an instant, Ash was reminded of the wanton beauty of her sisters, but how little it compared to what stood before him. He at once wasn't able to recognize her, but upon recognizing her, was filled with contagious awe and a strange warmth. His heart skipped and pounded like crazy, but Ash, ever the king of blunders, falls and lands on his back. Pika. Misty runs and kneels next to Ash. Are you okay? Ash nodded his and sat upright. Yeah. Why are you dressed like that, Mist? Oh, I wanted to go to the festival, but I'm having second thoughts. I wanted to go with someone, but I can't find anyone. Misty said, attempting to make it obvious. Good luck finding someone, Cha. Pikachu smacked his forehead, for it was rather obvious, even to Pikachu, what was going on. He can't be this dense. Misty thought to herself, trying to stem her anger somewhat successfully. HMPH, you know Ash. I do owe you a date, remember? You beat me fair and square during our match back at my gym. It's not like me not to fulfill a promise. But you never gave me that ocean badge you promised me. Like Mt. St. Helens, she erupted, you said you didn't want the badge. WAAAAAHHHHH. Regaining her composure, she reached into her purse, and pulled out a small crest shaped like an ocean wave, embedded with a small heart in the center. Here, Ash. Your badge. Oh, thanks Misty. Finally, positive feedback. A smile, and a blush I see, Misty thought to herself, seeing she finally was making some headway, quickly picking up a strategy. The way to a man, heart is usually through the stomach, but Ash seems to be really into Pokemon or anything closely related. This is perfect. I'm a Pokemon master and he's a Pokemon trainer. I'll have to beat him at his own game. Then I'll win his heart and maybe, the truth. Now then, I'll guess you'll have to go on that date with me. You agreed to it when we battled, right? Right, Ash said, lightly blushing. With the speed of a Dodrio, she pulled Ash up from the ground by the arm and threw him into her jeep. Pikachu tagged along while she kept telling him about the festival. I heard they re-hosting free Pokemon battles at the festival. If you don't mind, I'd like a rematch with you, Ash. Never backing away from a challenge, Ash clenches his fist and says, you're on, Misty. Let's go. Duplica strolled over to Brock's room, where he was deep in slumberland. She sat next to him on the bed, looking upon his face. In her mind came back the memory of how they first met. Her Ditto was never able to completely transform, and with that problem, Duplica couldn't reopen the Amite house as she had planned. The money she had saved up from previous shows quickly evaporated, paying property taxes and utility bills. The Amite house property was eventually taken as collateral in the province for unpaid taxes, and demolished, having a McDonald's built in its place. She wandered towards Celadon, hoping to find a new life. Maybe selling perfumes for the famous Erica. It was by absolute chance she ran into Brock. It was one rainy, drizzly day in the middle of a grove off the side of one of the routes leading to Celadon. Ditto, don't worry. We'll make it to Celadon tomorrow, but just try to stay calm, Duplica said, trying to comfort her Ditto, who hadn't eaten for days. Their food supply ran out, and they hadn't run into another city or town for days. Duplica sat Ditto on a stump and went to forage for whatever food she could find in the woods. Running towards the other side of the road, she slipped in the mud, busting up a knee and slamming hard on her palm. She started to cry heavily, more out of her desperate situation than for any pain she may have felt. Please, can I help you? There's no need to cry. She looked up to see a boy, slightly older than her, wearing a rain jacket and carrying lots of supplies. He helped her up, taking her into his strong RMS and carrying her to a secluded inn that was close by, since she couldn't stand. Brock talked to her, and they exchanged the stories of their lives, of how he sold his old gym to Team Rocket, and how she had lost the Amite house. He kept her company all night, with the greatest concern on his face, fed her, and even rented her a separate room, instead of letting her sleep in the lobby. You tried to leave me, Brock. But I didn't let you, did I? Duplica thought to herself as she looked at his chest heave up and down as he slept, and I joined you in your career, the one you didn't want to take up. But had no choice since you had to send money back to your family. Whatever love I have for you I don't want to let go, and if Ash is as kind-hearted and compassionate as I think he is, he's gonna help me. With those thoughts, Duplica ran to one of the desks and began writing a letter. But little did the guests of Oak's home know that some uninvited guests were inside the home as well. Pikachu stood on the sidelines as its two most favorite trainers in the world faced off. Misty calls Starmie. Bulbasaur, I choose you. With fire in their hearts, the two young trainers commanded their Pokémon with authority. They battled on a makeshift wooden platform, with beautiful Japanese lanterns adorning the edge in various colors, and several spectators looking on as they partied in the festival. Festive music played in the background, adding to the tension. Starmie, Swift Attack. Bulbasaur, Razor Leaf. Both their Pokémon unleashed their attacks simultaneously, and managed to dodge them easily. But Starmie's Swift Attack, which is never supposed to miss, quickly turned back and smacked hard into Bulbasaur's back like a heat-seeking missile, sending it flying in front of Starmie. Finish it off with Psychic. Starmie unleashed Psychic, tearing deep into Bulbasaur, since it was also a poison type, and readily susceptible to psychic attacks. The ringside announcer announced, Bulbasaur is down. Starmie is the victor. Grr. Ash growled as he recalled Bulbasaur and reached for another Pokeball. Go, Squirtle. Ah, you wish to go toe-to-toe with a water master, Ash. Misty teased. You think you're hot stuff, huh Misty? Ash smiled, time to cool you down. Squirtle, Hydro Pump. I'm hotter than you think. Starmie, Light Screen. Starmie quickly formed a barrier, shielding it from Squirtle Hydro Pump. The tiny turtle rammed full force into Starmie, but fell back from the impact, disorienting it. Starmie, Double Edge. Full Strength. The powerful starfish spun hard into Squirtle's soft underbelly, sending it flying in front of Ash's feet. He quickly recalled his Squirtle, and thanked it for a good job. Well, I guess it's time to pull out the big guns. It should be able to withstand a little squirt like Starmie. Go, Charizard. Roar. Not too smart, Ash. You were much more formidable when you beat me last time. Starmie, Swift. Grr, Charizard, fly up. The massive Charizard flew up, but Starmie's Swift Attack once again met its target, not knocking it out of the sky but disorienting it enough for Misty to follow up with her last attack. Starmie, Bubble Beam. Give it all ya got. With those words, Charizard was bombarded by the highly explosive bubbles from Bubble Beam. It crashed down on the ground hard, attempting to get up, but quickly falling down in exhaustion. Ash withdrew Charizard and Praisehead in defeat, but smiled a little, for deep in his heart, he'd prefer to lose to Misty than anyone else. The announcer yelled, and Misty Waterflower, this year's league champ, wins the match. She ran to Ash really close and grabbed his hand. They looked into each other's eyes and smiled. You did your best, Ash. That's all that matters. I still think you have what it takes to be a master. Easy for you to say. You're a league champ and a future member of the Elite Four. Ash, please, learn something from me. Don't just think about Pokémon. Try to enjoy your life, too. If you don't mind, they're hosting a dance in one of the open tents on the beach, and Ash hesitated, taking her advice into heart, gently smiled and said, sure, let's go. They stood before their captives, with several of their henchmen pointing submachine guns in their directions. With the conceit and vanity that they prided themselves on, they interrogated their prisoners as to the whereabouts of the gym leader. Duplica spat in Jess's face only to receive a stinging slap across hers. She was quickly kicked to the ground as Jessie proceeded to wipe the spit off her face. Persian Meowth quickly ran to Duplica and flicked out his index claw, bringing it close to Duplica's neck. Both James and Professor Oak were shocked as to the ruthlessness of Jessie and Persian. But were good at keeping it to themselves. Now, which one of you will volunteer the girl's location, or do I have to dig a little further? Persian Meowth sneered, never losing the team's flair for cheesy puns, and digging his claw further into Duplica's neck, with a little blood trickling out. Brock couldn't take it anymore. Duplica, please tell them. I don't want to lose you. Even if they find Misty and Ash, these scum aren't gonna be able to defeat them, please. With tears forming in her eyes, Duplica let out, Misty. I'm sorry. The festival. Elsewhere. Another Team Rocket duo was looking overhead, eyeing the festival. Kid, have you spotted that Misty girl yet? Billy asked. Not yet, but I heard Jessie, James, and their nasty little Persian are around here as well. Giovanni seemed pretty upset hearing those three had lost Professor Oak, from what I heard. You seem to hear a lot, kid, Machamp groaned, just how are you privy to such information? Let's just say I have ears in all sorts of places, Champy. In the back of Kid's mind, she knew she was starting to blow her identity, but she didn't care. She never joined Team Rocket out of a sincere interest, but as a cover and a front for her mission. Kid wasn't even her real name. Little did her comrades know, but Kid had a very interesting background, one closely related to the being she was sent to look for. Red, where are you? Further above from the impending action, the Dark One, the entity called Red, loomed over all of them, bellowing in laughter, every loss. One of these fools are playing into my hands. Ash's naivete, Misty's loneliness, Jess's hate, James's weakness, Persian's pride, Giovanni's greed, Gary's arrogance. People are so predictable. Try all you can, Father Ash. You cannot stop me from my goal. I will own your little body, with Misty at my side. Out of the water came all living things, and from the womb of the water princess will be born a new race. In the midst of his pontificating, he spotted a familiar face among the groups of people he oversaw, one he hadn't seen since battling her back home. Impossible. Impossible. It can't be her. Beautiful. Please. I don't want the night to end. Ash had never danced before in his life, maybe once with May when they were younger, but he stepped on her feet and she pounded the crap out of him. Misty was more forgiving, having showed him some steps while he tried again and again, until he got it, somewhat. But now they were slow dancing in a rather close embrace with their eyes closed. And most of the couples already having left the dance floor. As the night ebbed away, they found themselves alone, not wanting to stop. Misty snuggled into Ash, breathing warmly onto his chest, while Ash caressed her back and waist, gently pressing his head against hers. Neither of them could believe the fulfilling comfort they were feeling now, but couldn't deny it, and kept in their embrace as they felt the minutes pass on for what seemed like hours. Hours of sheer bliss. Pikachu watched from the edge of the dance floor, eating a small burger someone had dropped, and looking on at the two trainers. Feeling almost like a child to his parents. One of the festival attendants suddenly turned off the lights and put out some of the colored lanterns, giving them the cue that they should leave. It was about 3 in the morning, and neither of them could believe it. We should go, Misty. Yeah, but I didn't get the chance to talk to you much tonight. About what? There's a lot I want to know about you, Ash. And a lot you should know about me, and how I feel. Yeah, I know what you mean, Ash said with a blush. Let's sit on the beach, together. Right, come on Pikachu. We're taking a walk. Misty snatched her high heels with one hand, while Ash grabbed the other, leading her to edge of the beach. It was the most splendid scene for romance, Misty thought to herself. As the moon blessed the soft waves of the ocean with an aquamarine glow. They sat down next each other rather closely, while they took in the splendid scenery, and pondered their next words. Misty closed her eyes and flustered a little. Ash. I have to admit my life hasn't been this exciting until you came into it. That Team Rocket break-in we staged, it was rather fun. It was awesome, and pretty soon. With Professor Oak's help, I can get back to my timeline, Ash said, not knowing his words hurt Misty as he said them. Ash, how much time do you have until you can go back? It's been 5 days since I got here. So I'm guessing a week and 2 days is all I have left. What do you plan on doing when you go back? All I can do is go back to my Pokemon training with you and Brock. Oh, Ash, before you go, I wanted to know something that only you can tell me. What's that, Misty? What was I like to you? I mean, what was our relationship like in your time? Ash knew he'd have to answer questions like these sooner or later, and mustered up all his courage closing his eyes. You were my best friend. But we didn't start off that way. You always nagged me about your bike when we first met. And we always fought over everything. Before I was thrown into this world, I started liking you, secretly, but I always thought you didn't like me, and I made fun of you and said mean things to you sometimes, just like you would do to me. I'm sorry. If I could take it all back, I would. I miss the Misty I knew. Surprisingly, Misty didn't react angrily as she normally would. Instead she tried to understand how he saw things from his point of view. She saw the pain in his face as he admitted his feelings for the younger Misty. With a slightly saddened face, Misty looked directly at him, asking him the question that was on her mind the most. Ash, how do you feel about me now? He wasn't prepared to answer. The question scared him even more since he was now with an older Misty. For the younger one would never have been so blunt. He was older and she was older, and their maturity caught up with them. He thought long and hard, blushed heavily. And going against the grain of his 12-year-old brain, finally attempted to say something. Misty drew close to him, brushing her velvet cheek onto his face and whispered sweetly with a loving smile, I like you. No matter what timeline I'm in. Little by little, they shut their eyes and brought their lips closer and closer, while Pikachu covered his eyes with his paws in anticipation. Cha boo What? Quote. The two broke from their loving spell, interrupted by a loud explosion. Pikachu quickly ran to Ash, afraid of the sound, yet attempting to muster his courage. Misty quickly grabbed onto Ash and a figures appear before them. Ash stood up, bewildered by what was happening. I was right about her, James. Misty can't seem to control her hormones. What a weakling. Think about it, Jess. If I spent all my time alone traveling around the world training Pokémon, I'd feel sexually anxious too. I don't blame her, James said, attempting to sound forgiving, but failing rather miserably. Quit babbling, you two. Now, Ms. Waterflower. We've been looking for you, Persian Meowth sneered. Who are you? How did you find us? Call me Jessie. We're the elite of Team Rocket. And though normally I would start our motto, I'm quite tired from torturing your little friends back at Oak's home. It was rather easy finding you after talking to the green-haired ninja girl. No. Duplica. Misty muttered. It's them, Ash thought to himself. They had changed much from the incompetent Pokémon thieves he knew, for James had gained a slight build, and had done away with his old hairstyle. Sporting a shorter haircut with two long bangs in front of his face. He wore sunglasses with blue tints, and a suit to match. Jessie had done away with the candy cane style hair she used to have. Instead dividing her long red hair into two parallel, elegant ponytails. Her long dress was a mixture of white and pink cloths sewn in a dazzling array, with a long slit showing her rather sensual right leg. Meowth was an entirely different Pokémon. It was a Persian standing fully erect like a human, though his feet looked bigger and heavier, and the fur from his ears were thicker. He almost looked like an undiscovered species of Pokémon altogether. But their looks were far from their most formidable quality. What d'ya want me for? Misty yelled, seething at the fact that they spoiled her moment with Ash. Jessie tapped her chin and spoke, we're interested in your gym. If you value your life and that of your little friend, you'll hand it over to us without question. And what if I say no, you old hag? Even if Misty was older and had never met Jessie before in this alternate timeline, she pricked the nerve that would unleash Jess's full vengeance and hatred. Misty looked on in disbelief as Jessie morphed from classy supercriminal of the world, to penultimate she-devil and meta-bitch goddess. Wah, what did she call me? Jessie said, with several nerves twitching out of her forehead. She just said old hag, Jess. What's the big deal? James said with an innocent look on his face. Goo, DAARRKKAAARRRRBBBBOOOKKK. Ash, Misty and Pikachu readied themselves for a fight. They've never before witnessed ugliness of that magnitude and called out their Pokémon in fear. Pikachu and Watchdog, I choose both of you. Ash yelled, seeing Persian readying itself to join in. I call Starmie. Fear our might. Fear Team Rocket. Go, Dark Weezing. James called out, wanting to defend a rather pissed off Jessie. I call myself. Persian, go. Persian Meowth growled, the rat is mine. Ash, I'll take Jessie. You take on James. Pikachu will have to command itself against Persian. You've read my mind, Misty. You heard that, Pikachu. You have to take on Persian without my commands. You can do it, Pika. Bring it on. Everyone readied themselves for their duel. Jessie and Dark Arbok stared evilly at Misty and Starmie. Ash and his watchdog, Satoshi, looked upon James and his Dark Weezing. But Pikachu faced off against a vicious-looking Persian Meowth, who kept retracting and pushing out his claws in anticipation of having them render Pikachu's flesh from its bone. The wind howled, the waves roared, and little did our heroes know they'd be in for a rude awakening. Everyone's eyes glared at each other, readying themselves for the first strike. Jessie glared along with her Dark Arbok. You don't think you're actually gonna win, do you? You're dealing with this year's Indigo League champ. So you're the one who should be worried. Misty's right. And I've beaten you 3 plenty of times, before, Ash added. James scratched his head. Funny, I don't recall ever battling someone as annoying as you. Enough talk. Attack everyone. Persian roared. Satoshi, howl attack. Starmie, psychic attack. Dark wheezing, sludge attack. Dark Arbok, bite attack. Ash's watchdog unleashed its howl attack simultaneously, while James' dark wheezing spit out its sludge. Both attacks made their target, dealing heavy damage to both, though Satoshi was seriously poisoned and losing energy fast. Clenching their fists, Ash and James simultaneously called the same attack, tackle attack. The two Pokémon rammed full force into each other, both dropping to the ground in exhaustion. Stalemate. I'm impressed, James said as he recalled his Pokémon along with Ash, but let's see if you can do the same with Umbreon, go. Misty's Starmie unleashed the full fury of its psychic attack, NDFUL that it didn't have many power points left after battling Ash earlier in the night. It tore deep into Dark Arbok, laying a hard hit, but not before Dark Arbok quickly recovered and unleashed a nasty bite attack, sinking its venom-coated fangs profoundly into Starmie, who was at a serious disadvantage. It reeled back, with only a few points of HP left. Misty was about to command another psychic attack, but Jessie had a slippery ace up her sleeve. Dark Arbok, gravity shot attack. The black snake unleashed a powerful dark ball from the tip of its tail, striking full force and shattering LF the gem at the center of Starmie's body. The crippled starfish flew back from the impact, ultimately falling in front of Misty's feet, twitching in pain as Misty pulled up and held her longtime friend, almost crying. Jessie snickered. Ah, if it makes you feel any better, little girl, all our Pokémon are genetically altered and enhanced. That plus some of them have microchips and bionic augments for increased performance. That's sick. How could you do that to your own Pokémon, you hideous Battleaxe? Go, Seeking. Horn Drill. The fuming Jessie, still seething after being insulted by Misty, paid attention too late. For Misty's Seeking quickly materialized and dug its horn drill into Dark Arbok, fainting it instantaneously. GGGGGGGRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRRR impatiently as it lunged off the rock towards Pikachu. Pikachu quickly used its agility and bounced out of Persian's way. It quickly recovered from his miss and quickly flung its claws at Pikachu, who quickly flipped out of the way and unleashed a powerful Thunderbolt attack, striking full force into Persian's face. The wily cat shrugged off the attack and snorted, with a well-sized grin on its face. Impressive. This is gonna be fun. Pikachu, watch yourself, Ash said as he called out his next Pokémon. Go, Snorlax. The tubby Pokémon materialized itself on the sands of the beach, readying itself against James's Umbreon. Umbreon, feint attack. The dark evolution of Eevee quickly disappeared and unleashed a flurry of shadowy blows on Snorlax, quickly returning in front of its master. But the chunky champion scratched his head, unfazed by the attack. Snorlax, use your body slam. Full strength. With those words, Snorlax pressed his body down on Umbreon, completely smothering it out of James' view. Upon lifting itself back up, all James saw was his Umbreon utterly flattened into the sand. Cute, James said with disconcern as he recalled Umbreon and waited with a smile on his face. Ash didn't like the expression on James's face, as if he was confident they would come out on top. Pikachu was on the defensive, for Persian kept coming back from his attacks with even more increased effort every time. Persian attempted his slash attack, but Pikachu proved too fast for it, easily using his agility to dodge the deadly blow. Seeing the futility of his strategy, Persian quickly resorted to using his Fury swipes, and swiftly swiped away at Pikachu. Though Pikachu dodged most of the attack, one of the swipes managed to cut his leg, slowing the little mouse considerably. Where I want you. You little rat. Mischievous, screech attack. A piercing, high-pitched yell ran through the air, piercing intensely into everyone's eardrums except Jessie, who was naturally immune to her own Pokémon's powers. Misty kept one eye open and saw her Seeking was unaffected, since it didn't have any ears. Her Seeking was at the edge of the beach, and she saw the opportunity to unleash a mighty attack. Screaming at the top of her lungs, Seeking, use your waterfall attack. gathering a heavy amount of water under its fins, seeking shot like a bullet out of the water, shish. Immying up Misdreavus with forceful blasts of pounding liquid, beating the Banshee-like Pokémon like a new drum. Misdreavus quickly dissipated into vapor and ran back into her Pokeball, but like James, Jessie was carrying only 3 Pokémon. And both of them were down to their last one. She smiled like James was smiling, and waited for Persian to stop fighting Pikachu. Ash only had Snorlax and Pikachu available for combat. His other Pokémon already being fainted by Misty during their previous match and Satoshi having fainted simultaneously with Dark Weezing. Misty had only Seeking and Fullfrog. For Starmie had been fainted fighting Dark Arbok, and her other Pokémon were exhausted from the mission back at the Team Rocket base. If only she hadn't left her Gyarados back at the gym, what used T. Obi the Magikarp she had caught in that river so long ago, the very Magikarp that took the place of Ash in her timeline. They were barely scraping by with their Pokémon, gaining a shaky edge. Seeking was exhausted and Misty had no choice but to recall it, and call her last Pokémon. Go, Fullfrog. Persian took action against the handicapped Pikachu, expediently pouncing upon the little mouse. Pikachu tried to dodge the attack. But too late, for Persian had tackled it viciously. Pikachu unleashed a thundery bolt, slamming Persian against a rock, its head catching much of the impact. The Con-C. Tedcat had blood trickle from its forehead, dripping from its eyelid. Before Pikachu could react, Persian roared like a lion and thrust itself full force into Pikachu, slamming it hard on the sand. Everyone looked on as Persian did the most indescribably vicious thing it had ever done, angry at the fact that the unevolved Pikachu had damaged it so. With its feline fangs, it picked up the Desorian. Ted Pikachu with its mouth and mangled him like a leftover rag doll, swinging his little body left and right while Pikachu shrieked in terror, ultimately throwing him against one of the rocks. Ash and Misty's heart stopped as they saw Pikachu roll down the side of the rock, tumbling down bruised and bloodied. Pikachu! Ash yelled, with tears already forming in his eyes. No! Misty cried in shock. Ash, with all his might, literally kicked Persian Meowth away from Pikachu, while Misty ran beside him, their Pokémon looking on in concern. He picked up Pikachu, embracing him in his arms. Misty placed her hand on his arm, pressing herself against Ash and looking at the injured mouse. Pikachu, no. With all his strength, Pikachu reassured Ash, Pikachu-cha Pikachu. Don't cry. I'm okay. Trying to lift his head. He uttered, Pika-pi-Pika-cha-chu-pi, Ash. Meowth's spirit died long ago. Misty began to weep too. Pikachu, save your strength. We'll make them pay. The two turned towards Jessie, James, and Persian, who was standing next to the two. How sentimental, but our little joust has to end. Persian Meowth growled. Ash fumed at the cat's inconsiderate disregard for life. You're gonna pay for this, Meowth. Misty looked on, seeing their opponents still smiling evilly. What are you smiling at? Are you surrendering or do you have more Pokémon to call out? We're winning so far. Savor this moment, for it shall be your last taste of victory. Persian roared. The cat got back on all fours, running to the center of Jessie and James. With an arrogant shake of their heads, two young rockets reached for their last Pokeball. It was a peculiar Pokeball, painted black, with the letters, TR, etched on the top half in red. Oddly enough, on the lower half, there a silvery skull etched. With red rubies for eyeballs. They glowed, so much that while they were pulling out the ball, they glittered a fiery red gleam, visible to even Ash and Misty. In a dark echo, they called out their most terrifying and powerful Pokémon. Go, Vampine! Jessie shouted. Go, Snornot! James yelled. What are those? Misty called, in utter disbelief over what she was seeing. She pulled out Aquadyne and attempted to identify the Pokémon. Aquadyne, identify the two Pokémon. Misty exclaimed. Pokémon unknown. Data non-existent. Aquadyne replied. Let me try, Misty. My Pokédex may be old, but it was updated by Chronine. Quote. Ash flipped out his Pokédex, and it quickly spilled out the intriguing details. Vampine. The Poltergeist Pokémon. This super rare Pokémon is prized highly among ghost trainers around the world. Because of its ability to transcend the natural and supernatural worlds, it wields powerful physical and special attacks with its razor-sharp needle spines. With dread, He flicked his Pokédex slowly at James's smaller Pokémon. Snornot, the Insomniac Pokémon. A distant, southern relative of Snorlax, this Pokémon's behavior is drastically different. It eats and sleeps on very rare occasions. Because it eats little, it is significantly smaller, but because it is constantly awake, it wields astronomical mental powers. Jessie teased at Misty, "What's keepin' you, little girl? Call out your Pokémon. If you dare. My Vampine's been aching for seafood lately, and your Fullfrog looks rather scrumptious." James, wanting to chime in, said to Ash, "It's quite ironic. You brought your fat little Pokémon here for my Snornot to pound on. Maybe then, you can encourage it to join a health spa." Seething with rage, stemming from both Pikachu's condition and their disgust for their enemy's vanity and arrogance, the two trainers called out their Pokémon, yelling out their attacks. Snorlax, Hyper Beam. Fullfrog, Hydro Pump. The Team Rocket trio looked with sinister faces as Snornot and Vampine commanded themselves against their opponents' Pokémon. Snorlax's Hyper Beam shot directly at Snornot, but much to Ash's surprise, the small Snornot dodged the beam and was charging quickly in Snorlax's direction. Fullfrog shot its powerful Hydro Pump, and for a moment it seemed to hit on target, but after the Hydro Pump dissipated, Vampine was still standing fully erect and in an instant. It teleported closer and closer to Fullfrog. Misty gasped and grabbed Ash's hand, squeezing it intensely, for she never encountered a Pokémon that could withstand Fullfrog's Hydro Pump. Ash grimaced, glancing at Misty. And then at Pikachu cradled in his other arm. "The fight's not over yet, Misty." Snorlax, crush that Pipsqueak with your body slam. Fullfrog, pierce that monster with your sharp tongue attack. Pathetic. Utterly pathetic, Persian purred, for it knew that their remaining Pokémon didn't stand a chance. Snorlax landed full force onto Snornot, obstructing it from view. And Fullfrog shot out its tongue with a hard snap. For a moment, it seemed like their attacks were effective, for Snornot wasn't visible under Snorlax's massive belly, and Fullfrog's tongue had pierced full force into Vampine's spiky back. "All right," Ash cheered. We did it." Misty smiled. But then they noticed something that would shock them beyond belief. Snorlax wasn't getting up from the body slam. And Vampine hadn't fainted yet. Little by little, Snorlax was coming up, but not on its feet. Fullfrog was unable to retract its tongue, for it was caught by Vampine's various spines. In the blink of an eye, Snornot lifted the massive Snorlax and threw him viciously in front of Ash. Vampine pulled Fullfrog towards it by the tongue like a child with a yo-yo, and rammed its HEAD full strength into its soft underbelly, sending it flying in front of Misty. Jessie and James, ever the consummate masters of rhyme, spoke their final commands. "We've toyed with Snornot, disable it and use Knuckle Punch." They couldn't handle it when the going got rough. Vampine, glare it and use your Spiny Crunch. Ash's Snorlax was frozen in place with disable and sent flying with Snornot's Knuckle Punch. While Misty's Fullfrog was paralyzed in place with glare and needled numerous times with Vampine's Spiny Crunch. The two trainers stood in disbelief as their last Pokémon were fainted before their eyes. "No!" Ash yelled. I can't believe it," Misty whispered. Jessie made a sinister laugh. "Well now, Miss Indigo Champ. Did you really think you and your little boy toy over there were gonna win tonight? We're Team Rocket. Our hands envelop almost everything in the world now, including the very league you conquered this year. You may've been the champ, but we were behind it all." Ha, 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 ha. James, hiding the remorse he felt after seeing what happened to Pikachu, cued in, "Don't make this any harder on yourself and don't take this the wrong way. You fought well, but you're not of Team Rocket caliber." With those words, he pulled out a gas gun and pointed it at them. "I'm sorry," he said in his mind as he shot the gun, shooting a pellet of sleeping gas and knocking out Ash, Misty, and Pikachu. They coughed and rolled on the ground, finally asleep. Recall their fainted Pokémon back in their balls, and take them to the evaluation lab. They're all rather powerful, I'll admit. We'll need to check their abilities," Persian commanded. Jessie recalled the fainted Snorlax and Fullfrog, but when she tried to recall Pikachu, she saw it didn't have its own Pokeball. This boy's Pikachu doesn't have a ball. Strange. Throw it in a dumpster. We don't need that pitiful, unevolved excuse for a Pokémon, Persian sneered. No. I'll take it for myself. I'll carry it, James said, taking Pikachu away from Jessie. They threw the two young trainers in the back of one of the Grunts' vans, joining an unconscious Professor Oak, and rode off into the night, heading for Team Rocket's global headquarters. The very heart of Team Rocket. Viridian City. Little by little, his eyes opened. They were blurred, and he couldn't make out where he was. It was a long, dark room, adorned with various plants lined up on the edges. A very long, granite table stretched out to the very end. He had an overhead view, for strangely enough, he was tied up on a pole-like structure. With what little strength he had in his neck, he turned painfully towards the towering glass windows. He couldn't make out much of anything from his blurred vision, save for the fact that it was a rainy day. And the building he was in was a very tall skyscraper, overlooking much of the city below him. Finally he dropped his head, accepting the futility of his situation, with only one thing on his mind, Misty. Then he noticed a figure coming in the room and walking in his direction. After a long walk, the figure finally came in front of our hero, lighting up a cigar, and blowing the smoke in his face. Ash coughed while the figure laughed and proceeded to talk. I must say your appearance was totally unexpected. I'm still wondering how you arrived here. I had my lab test a blood sample. Just to make sure you were Ash Ketchum, and much to my disbelief, you matched his DNA. I figured after having you kidnapped along with your Pikachu the night you were supposed to start your legendary Pokémon journey, you'd just be erased from your pathetic existence. Ash, still dreary from the sleeping gas, uttered, "You're behind all of this." Giovanni. Well, you're not as dense as some people make you out to be. Why are you doing this? Giovanni paced in front of one of the towering windows. Quite simple, Ash my boy. Power, wealth, the motivating factors of any criminal mastermind. It's ironic that the woman I once loved, the very one who left me because of my ambitions, would bear a son that would eventually cause the downfall of my organization. I should kill you now, boy. But, out of respect for Delia, I won't. All I can promise you is a world where I shall reign with the children of Team Rocket, with you as my slave. Where's Misty? With those words, he started walking away. Until turning back to look at Ash, leaving his final words, about the girl you were with, the Cerulean gym leader. Misty, as you call her. She will soon give us the deed to her gym, but after she does, I'm afraid she'll meet with a rather untimely demise. I want you to share the same heartache I had after your mother left me, and live with it for the rest of your life, the same as I. That's another reason I'm not killing you. Ash struggled, the rage building in his heart, causing some blood to trickle from his wrists. Grr. If anything happens to Misty, I'm gonna. Grr. Giovanni left the room with an audible laugh, enough to make Ash struggle even more. He struggled for minutes on end, scraping his wrists and upper forearm, yet the pain didn't matter. His thoughts were on Misty, and nothing else. Ash finally stopped, finally bowing his head and crying, not noticing someone else had just entered the room. He didn't even notice the footsteps coming in his direction, completely absorbed in sorrow. Little by little the footsteps came closer, until he took notice and slowly lifted his head, seeing a familiar face. Hi there. Grr. What are you doing here? Don't yell. Keep quiet and listen to me. I'm not supposed to be in here. SSSHHH. Huh. It was Kid, the Team Rocket member who Ash and friends previously tangled with. She was still in her unique Team Rocket outfit. But she didn't have a look of condescension, but more a face of concern. If you're not supposed to be in here, why are you? Ash asked her. Ash, listen to me. Forget about everything I've done to you so far and listen. We're on the same side. How do you figure that? I came here to save you, let me untie you. Kid said as she untied Ash from the pole and handed him a package. Put on the suit and the fake ID I made for you. We have to leave soon. Why are you doing this, Kid? Ash said as he put on the garb she gave him. I'll explain later. Your watchdog can wait. We have to find your little girlfriend. Since she's in the most danger now. You've just become a rocket exec. And your name Ashton Ketchum. Kid, let's hurry. My body feels like it deteriorating already. In a lower level, James sat in his office, with his eyes focused on the cage with the Pikachu he just obtained. He was sifting through some files he had on his desk, some pertaining to today's convention. And others he had secretly taken from Jess's desk. Team Rocket representatives from around the globe were meeting today, in the grand hall of the third floor. Jessie and Meowth were there, but James decided to stay behind for a bit. To get the stats on the Pokémon they confiscated from Ash and Misty. Their Pokéballs were hung on a rack in his office, having recently been delivered from Team Rocket's medical facility. All the Pokémon were healed, including Pikachu, though James requested it be given anesthesia to let it rest some more. Little by little, its eyes opened, and quickly made out a blurry image of James peering in front of him. Pikachu reacted appropriately. Kaaaccc who? Ooh. Grr, whatcha do that for, you little rodent? I wasn't going to hurt you. In fact, I was the one who saved you from getting thrown into a dumpster. James spat, getting back up and regaining his composure. Pikachu. Pikachu kept trying to tell James things. And James little by little, realized Pikachu was trying to tell him something. Pikachu started crying, gaining James's sympathy, tearing into his haunting conscience. Then it hit James. Last year, he bought an experimental prototype of a Poketong translator from a friend he had in Sylph Company, famous the world over for Pokemon products. He fumbled for it around his desk. Never having fully made use of the contraption, he sat it in front of Pikachu, and plugged in some batteries. There was a small screen on the calculator the words would come out. Turning it on, he asked Pikachu to talk. Come on, Pikachu. Talk. Pushing his tears away, Pikachu started talking, Pika-Picha Pikachu. The words came out on the screen, though the translator still had a few bugs and didn't make out some words right. Ack. Nisty, where? Ack and Nisty. You mean Ash and Misty. I'm sorry to say they were taken prisoner, little guy, James said, trying to ameliorate the situation. Pika-Cha-Chu Pika-Pi-Chu. Gems. Listen me. You. Everyone danger. Gems. Who's Gems? Wait. Did you just call me Gems? You mean James? Pika. Yes. If you don't mind, I'd like to ask you something. What did your trainer mean when he said he fought us before? I don't remember ever fighting him. Pikachu turned away. Pi. Pikachu Chu Cha Cha Chu Pi. In our world, we fought you all the time. What do you mean, your world? Kachu Ka Cha Pichu Kachu. Me and my master are from the past, trying to protect his existence. James fell back surprised. What? That can't be. Could it? Ikachu Chuka Pichuka Cha, the time machine from Team Rocket. It started everything. I know what you're talking about. I had a feeling that thing was dangerous, James muttered. Before James could continue, Pikachu cut him off. Choo choo Pika Pika Cha. Let us go. Ack will die soon if not in contact with Watchdog. Pikachu cried while pointing at Ash's Pokeballs hung up on the wall. James looked at Pikachu with a blank expression, hiding the inner conflict in his soul. On the one hand, he had captured Professor Oak and Misty. Guilt was welling up in him so far, but it hadn't swelled up just yet. He looked at Pikachu, who had sat back down and continued crying like a lost child. In an instant, he asked himself deep in his heart, what was the right thing to do? He looked away from Pikachu, his eyes coming again upon an old picture of him, Jessie, and little Meowth. Every day he looked at that picture, missing the joy and loving friendship he once had with them. For James, the day had arrived. The very day he dreaded since realizing the loss of his friends. What was he going to choose? Comfort the sorrow of a Pokémon without its master, or satisfy the greed for power of his friends and the vicious organization they represented? James asked one last question to little Pikachu, what was I like in your past, when your master existed? Pikachu answered softly, Pika Pika, Pi. You had your friends. He closed his eyes and reached out. The only sound made in the room was that of a lock falling off. Pikachu, come with me. We'll have to free Misty first, since she's in the most immediate danger. So, Ash and Misty are somewhere in this tall building. How should we go about finding them? Brock was consulting Duplica, who was more the brains of their legendary operations. He was dressed in a very stylish tux, accompanied by a dazzling Duplica, wearing a dress similar to the one Jessie had worn when they had taken them hostage and tortured them into telling where Misty and Ash were in Porta Vista. Ever the perfect Houdini, Duplica managed to untie herself from Team Rocket's ropes, and with her brawny sidekick Brock, managed to track Jessie and James' trail back to Viridian City. Through Duplica's smarts and Brock's intimidation, they heard on the street of a massive global convention being held in Team Rocket headquarters in Viridian. Only global executive officers and guests were allowed inside the convention on this special day, and Duplica had fashioned some fake credentials from some cards Brock stole from some Rocket grunts. Duplica whispered in his ear, "Brock, you stay behind and see what this shindig is about. I'll fish around the building with the Disquise I brought. When I've located one or the other, I'll call you on the headset. Got it? No sweat. Do your thing, girl. I'll stay here." Quote. Duplica ran off, while Brock stayed behind at the Grand Convention Hall on the 3rd floor. It was an exquisite lobby, with an illustrious fountain in the center, adorned with various crystal sculptures of Pokémon. Beautiful girls were everywhere, many of them Rocket execs, and Brock resisted the urge to hit on any of their despicable kind, just barely. Little by little, the redhead woke up, with her vision blurred. The room she was in was dark, with only a glimmer of light spotlighting the floor in front of her. She was tied on a rather plush office seat, bound on the arms by thick rope. All she could make out in the small room were 4 Rocket grunts armed with assault rifles. In the middle of grunts was a young man accompanying a woman talking on her cell phone. Slowly she came into focus. Turning back towards Misty, she quickly cracked a sinister smile and finished her conversation. Taking small, yet loud, reverberating steps, she and her partner finally stopped in front her. Misty said nothing, but the girl finally started talking. This is quite a honor. I'd have never thought I actually ever meet you in person. Who are you? Misty asked. I'm the torture specialist assigned to you tonight. You can call me Cassidy. The boy next to her chimed in, and I'm the legal specialist here, with property documents for you to sign. You can call me Butch. Misty looked around her, seeing Ash wasn't with her. Where's Ash, you filthy creeps? Cassidy sneered, you must mean that boy. He's hung up at the moment in our boss's office, literally. Misty started sobbing lightly. No. Ash. Butch came close to her and smiled. You should save your tears for later, when Cassidy gives you the royal treatment, my little water master. Then you'll really have a reason to cry. But no worries just yet, Misty, said a leather-clad Cassidy. My boss, James, told me on my cell phone just a moment ago to delay my performance until he arrives. I guess he wants to oversee this personally. Ash and Kid ran down the endless flights of stairs, staying as clandestine as possible. Ash, Misty's being held on the 15th level. We have to get to her quick. Ash curiously asks her, why is everyone so interested in Misty? Can you tell me? Kid, not wanting to reveal too much until the appropriate time, Giovanni wants her gym as a holy ground. A place where he can summon up the power of the ancient Pokémon goddess, the Water Mother. But, the greater threat is Red, the dark entity that you met at Oak's lab. How do you know about Red meeting me at the lab? Ash asked her. I have eyes everywhere, Ash, just like Red. I'll reveal everything I know to you at the right time. But now, we have to save Misty, before Red gets his hands on her. And get you back in Watchdog's protection. Right. James and Pikachu finally arrived on the 15th floor. He busted through the doors, startling Misty, Butch, and Cassidy, who were teasing Misty in a preliminary custom they fashioned prior to their torture. All of you have been relieved of your duties. You are to return to your usual posts. Butch quivered, but boss, Jesse and Persian gave us specific orders. James cut him off ferociously. I'll take it up with them, then. I gave you an order. Now leave. Misty sat shocked, as she saw James with Pikachu, taking authority and kicking all of them out. But before they could all leave, something terrifying happened. The hallway darkened, and in a flash of a moment, purple lightning flashed into the room, sending both the grunts and Butch and Cassidy flying back, falling onto the ground unconscious. James and Pikachu turned around, only to receive a powerful force blast knocking them both to one side. A dark figure emanated from the doorway, walking past the unconscious guards and hurt James and Pikachu. It stopped before Misty and stuck out his hand. A strange dark mass undid the ropes that bound Misty to the chair. She was utterly afraid of what stood before her. It was the same dark mass she saw back in Oak's lab. No. A pleasure to see you once again, Misty. Now, come with me to the dawn of a new world. A world from which you and I shall reign supreme. James and Pikachu fell horrified witness as the Dark One quickly ished into the shadows of the room. He tried to get up, while Pikachu tried to save Misty, only he was too late. Cha! Misty! The convention hall was called to attention. About 1,000 representatives from around the world were here. Brock had found his seat, waiting to hear any word from Duplica on his headset. He noticed Jessie was among the attendants, along with the vile Persian Meowth, who wasn't looking so well, almost sickly. He made sure to stay away from her, donning H's shades to look even less recognizable. Giovanni's personal assistant was the MC. He came in front of the podium and began a rather interesting speech. Welcome all to this special convention. On behalf of our leader, I would like to extend the utmost thanks for your participation. As you know, this organization has existed for 20 years, advancing mostly the sciences of aerospace and rocketry, hence our name Team Rocket. But by now, you have all probably heard the rumors about the amazing technological advances in our neophysics and pokegenics departments. Now I would like to call our leader to address and make official these claims. As you know, this information is strictly confidential to everyone attending this convention, including guests. Any breach of this contract, and you will face the leader's wrath. Please stand up and applaud our leader as he comes to the floor. Everyone came up and clapped, including Brock, though his heart was definitely not in it. Giovanni took the podium, and wouldn't start until the applause died down. Gee, what a pompous weirdo. Brock thought to himself, with his mind on Duplica. Huffing and puffing, Kid and Ash busted through the doors where Misty was formerly held hostage. Immediately he shouted, "Grr, let Misty go." Huh. He and Kid saw before them several knocked-out Rocket henchmen, along with what looked like Butch and Cassidy, but different. An infuriated Ash quickly spotted what looked like Pikachu. Pikapi. Ash. The mouse ran away from a delirious James, and embraced his master lovingly, but Ash spotted James and with vengeance in his heart, grabbed him by the collar furiously while Pikachu pleaded in James's favor. Grr, where's Misty? What happened here, James? Tell me you're all. James, lifting his other arm, handed Ash 2 straps lined with Pokeballs. Take them. A surprised Ash grabbed the straps, and called to Kid to help him with James. She strode quickly to him and helped Ash hoist him up. James struggled to stay up and said with a rather frightened words, "I'm sorry, but I tried to save her." What? I had a change of heart. But something black like a shadow came and took her away. Kid muttered, "No. Red took her. We came too late." Ash apologized to James and asked, "Why, James? Why did you want to help us?" James, slowly regaining his strength, "Your Pikachu convinced me. But I came across some startling documents too, something about an experiment in time travel, and a kidnapping being documented by Jessie. It was of this boy." He handed Ash a picture, while Kid peered to one side. "It's me," Ash exclaimed while looking at a picture of him and Pikachu enclosed in a strange device. Kid grabbed Ash's hand, "We don't have much time. We have to get to Mt. Silver." "But what about Misty?" Ash yelled. Pikachu. We have to save her." Kid turned around, "Red's taking her there. Come on." Before they left, Ash stretched out his hand to James, "Ya taggin' along or what?" He shook Ash's hand. "I guess this means I'm doing something good for a change. Let's go." The 3 ran out the doors, but out of nowhere, Jessie ran out in front of them. "Wah! Yee-hoo-hoo! Uh-oh! Pika!" Jessie shot out in front of them. "Ash! What are you doing with those 2? What looked like Jessie pulled off her face. Duplica. How did?" Duplica, still holding the Jessie mask, asked. "What's going on here, Ash? Where's Misty?" "She was kidnapped by Red, that black thing me and Misty ran into back at Oak's lab." "What? Kid here rescued me, and James here freed Pikachu and gave me back my Pokeballs with Satoshi. But when he tried to free Misty, Red came in and took her." Kid interjected, "Duplica, we're telling the truth. We have to get to Mt. Silver. Red's headed there with Misty. And if we don't stop him soon, this whole world is doomed." James tried to convince her, "I apologize for what I did back at Porta Vista, but Jess has been double-crossing me all this time. Not telling me she assisted in kidnapping a younger Vosh from his time. I'm finding this hard to believe." Duplica muttered. Quickly Satoshi jumped out of his Pokeball and barked to Duplica, "Woof." They speak the truth, Duplica. Everyone, we still have time to reach MT. Silver and save Misty and the world. But there is a present threat that needs to be taken care of. The Team Rocket convention. I've read Giovanni's mind earlier, and he has sinister plans about to be executed, and unfortunately, everyone in that convention hall is about to fall victim unless something is done to disrupt the convention now. I'm afraid Brock is among those attending. Oh, no. Brock. Duplica shrieked, I left him down there. I have to warn him. Back at the convention, Brock was rather busy, with an exec. An insanely attractive rocket chick sat next to our girl Crazy Hero and advanced upon him. Hey there, hot stuff. What brings you to the convention? Unknown to the brawny bruiser. He accidentally severed the plug from his headset. Brock, come in. No. Duplica yelled heartbroken on her headset. Ash, with both Misty and Brock on his mind and heart, everyone. All bets are off. Let's go crash that party and show Giovanni who can really throw a bash. Let's do it fast so we can save Misty. Right. All his comrades affirmed, clenching their fists and running down the stairs. And so, with the discovery of space-time displacement, we are now able to walk across the fabric of time. Team Rocket shall finally rule this land uncontested. I am your father. You are my chosen children. I instituted what you may know as the boy-girl team rule to keep our genders even, in the hopes that one day, you would sire a new race, one entirely devoted to the belief that we are superior to others. And that all the Pokémon and riches of the world are ours for the taking. Right now, this is the day. You may now choose your mates so we can commence with our imminent invasion. Afterwards, you will look at the vidscreen, explaining my master plan, and then we will all head to our stronghold base in MT. Silver, where you will be transported by our time machine NM. As to the very beginning of human history. With those frightening words, Giovanni left the podium, with sinister ideas in the back of his head. Little do my own children know, the video I'm about to show them will make them into my mind slaves. World domination has to come at a cost, what can I say? Much to Brock's disbelief, he was approached by several, mega-sexy rocket execs, asking if he wanted to become their mate for their master race. Though Brock was extremely flattered, he barely shrugged off their advances, trying to reassure himself that all these girls were all absolutely, positively, 200-proof nuts. He curled into a ball, put his hands on his flustered head, closed his eyes and whimpered out, Duplica, why hath thou forsaken me? I'm trying to be seduced by tons of evil, yet vivaciously beautiful girls, and you're not here to whack me into my senses. Like an angel, a familiar hand came upon Brock, smacking him upside the head. Brock, stop screwing around and help me. We have to cause a ruckus and disrupt this convention. Dupe. Ooh, I'm so glad to see you. Brock said, hugging Duplica. At that very moment, he never saw a more beautiful sight, for in the midst of a flurry of crazed beauties, he realized what true beauty meant when he saw her, the only inkling of sanity in this otherwise insane situation. Perhaps inappropriately, but lovingly, he quickly embraced Duplica and placed on her the most heartfelt kiss he could muster. Duplica pushed Hickley tried to apologize. I'm sorry, Dupe. I don't know what came over me. Blushing, she grabbed his hand and pulled him towards an exit. Call me, Dupe, again, and next time you kiss me, I'll bite your lips. Come on, we don't have much time. Ash, James, Pikachu, and Satoshi ran across the back of the huge vidscreen. 2 levels up from the convention floor. Quickly, they knocked out the guards and took their weapons. They each took a corner of the upper supports for the massive screen and, having the same thing in mind, called out the appropriate Pokémon. Charizard, melt the steel support with your flamethrower. Snorlax, tear the metal frames with your brainstorm. Ash's Charizard Super Hot Flamethrower Melt won the supports while James's Snorlax used its brainstorm to unscrew and rip the metal support beams holding the screen up. As the video was about to commence, the screen began to fall down. What you mean we can't leave? I'm a Team Rocket exec. Brock yelled at the grunt guarding the convention hall doors, me and my rocket mate wanna mate. OWWW. Duplica stepped on Brock's foot while she blushed and attempted to persuade the grunt. What my partner means is we have to leave for an emergency. Let us through please. I'm sorry but I have strict orders from Giovanni not to let absolutely anyone leave the room until the ceremony is over. Wait, What's going on? Look out, the guard said, pointing at the huge vidscreen, which was slowly falling down in their direction. I guess that's our cue, Brock said. Lifting a thumbs up to what he saw was Ash at the top of the vidscreen with Pikachu and Satoshi hovering above them. He quickly morphed his thumbs up into a fist and rammed it strong into the guard's gut, while Duplica kneed the guard in the face and busted through the door with Brock in tow. Just to brief you, Brock. Misty was captured by someone called Red. Red. Remember that dark being Ash and Misty kept talking about? She's being taken to MT Silver, beyond the Indigo Plateau. We have to plan the getaway to get there. Ash and James will meet us up front. You start the car up and wait while I stage an Officer Jenny rerouting. Got it. An overexcited Ash and James quickly recalled their Pokémon and latched onto some banners, which were on either side of the tumbling vidscreen, and slid down to the convention floor, in the midst of a frenzy of rocket execs and various guests running away from the falling vidscreen. It crashed down finally, catching the attention of a distant Giovanni, who quickly noticed the loud bang and ran back to the convention hall. Ash and Pikachu regained their senses in the chaos of people scrambling to leave the floor, while some of the hall lights were destroyed and flickering, creating a strobe-like effect on some parts of the huge lobby. Satoshi flew down to Ash, while James slowly ran to them in motion. Them to leave until he heard a familiar voice. James, what are you doing here with him? Jesse yelled in disbelief. I knew he was too weak to be one of us. Traitor. Persian roared. Why James? Why spoil everything for us? Everything was going to plan. She kept yelling in shock. Never. I can't be a part of this and you knew it. That's why you never told me you had a part in kidnapping the younger version of this boy from his timeline. You knew I wouldn't have condoned it. Huh, you looked through my files. Yes, Jessica, I did. But what does it matter to you? Whatever love you had you lost long ago. To believe I once admired you, but, look at yourself. Look at the lives you helped destroy, the destinies you erased, also you can achieve your petty claim on a madman's greedy dreams. And in the midst of it all, you destroyed yourself, the girl I met so long ago, my friend. Enough of your dribble. Persian Meowth growled as it struck at James, slashing the flesh of James's chest open with his slash attack. No, Jesse yelled, smacking Persian out of the way, trying to catch James before he fell. James, Ash yelled, readying Pikachu just in case Persian tried to attack them too. What have you done, Meowth? What's wrong with you? Jessie cried as she held James in her arms. Persian Meowth looked at himself and what he had just done. He couldn't believe he had struck his old friend, his old partner. He saw the frightened glares from their eyes, and his deadened conscience tried to resurface, but to no avail. All Persian could do was run away, realizing he had fallen from the furthest grace possible. Ash looked on as Jessie held James, crying uncontrollably, while James bled on his shirt, cracking a faint smile and trying to get up. So, that's what love's all about. Being there for each other. No matter what, Ash thought to himself, with Misty on his mind. Misty, wherever you are right now, know that I'm gonna be there soon. I'm coming for you, Misty. I love you, he whispered under his breath. Ash, Misty shouted. She was surrounded by darkness, with purplish material shooting out from every direction. Misty couldn't make out her surroundings, but noticed she was without her clothes, save for some of the purplish, shiny material covering her private areas. Instead of crying, she gathered whatever courage she could and called out her captor's name. Red, where are you? Show yourself. The Dark One called Red, phased into form before her and grinned along with his phantom, Grey Pikachu. Ah, so happy to see you awake finally. Now it is only a matter of time. Prepare to become the legendary Water Mother, Misty. Prepare to cleanse the world of all humanity and Pokémon kind. With thoughts of Misty pressing him on, Ash called to Pikachu and Satoshi the watchdog, and ran to Jessie and the injured James. Satoshi, can you help James? With a touch of its paw, Satoshi magically closed James's wounds. Life began seeping into James' pallid complexion. Jessie watched in awe as her longtime friend was being cured and healed. She may have had a heart of stone, but in a rare instant her heart was genuinely touched and softened, forcing her gratitude. I'm sorry, Ash. If there's anything I can do. Jessie, there is something you can do. I almost forgot about Professor Oak. Please, if you and James can free him and take him to MT. Silver. We might need his help. No problem, kid, Jessie said, helping her longtime friend James up, and extending her hand in gratitude. Ash took her hand in friendship, but little did they know. They were being watched by their boss. Consider yourselves fired, Jessie and James, Giovanni said, walking towards them with gentle, yet firm steps, and as for you, Ash. I'm quite impressed by your tenacity and the ability you seem to have of making friends out of anyone, including your enemies, though this is where it ends. With the time machine in my hands, even you aren't a threat anymore. I don't know how you arrived in this time, and you may have set me back a little with your exploits, but it means nothing with all the time in my hands. Try all you want, you're only delaying the inevitable. Though I'll always keep your mother close to my heart, I can despise your father, and you, his son. Die, Ash Ketchum. Go, Niversa. With those words, Giovanni threw a shining, crystalline Pokeball. In a flash of incredible light, a terrifying Pokémon appeared. It stood 6 stories high, was perfectly black and shiny, with 4 eyes each glowing red. It stood on 2 legs, yet had 6 forearms. All our heroes stepped back, as Ash fumbled for his Pokédex in absolute terror. It's him, Satoshi barked, readily recognizing the ancient Pokémon. Niversa. The primordial Pokémon. This Pokemon is said to have been the first Pokémon ever to exist. It wields all characteristics of all Pokémon, all elements, and all attacks. Only one throughout the history of the world is said to have existed. And was the progenitor of all Pokémon kind. As far as it is known, it has no type. Everyone stood back as the monster roared and growled, advancing slowly on them. Seeing his newfound companions in fear, Ash did something both courageous and unwise. Boo James, go free the professor and take him to MT. Silver like I asked. But don't you want us to help in the fight? James asked. This is between me and him, you two. Ash said, with Pikachu and Satoshi rallying to his side, go. I can handle whatever he throws at me. Grr, you better meet us at MT. Silver, Ash, or else you'll have to face me beyond the grave. Jessie yelled, pulling James along with her. With the strobing lights illuminating him, he sized up his opponent like he's done several times before. Giovanni made a sinister laugh as his Pokémon approached Ash with deft, clinical precision. Pikachu and Satoshi kept moving in conjunction with Ash. Satoshi, how do we approach fighting this thing? I don't know how to tell you this, Ash. But this thing is unstoppable. The only one I knew capable of stopping such a monstrous Pokémon was Cronin himself, but he's not here. But you are, Satoshi. If you're the pre-evolution of a Cronin, then you have to be able to stop it too. Satoshi was able to read minds, but it didn't expect to hear such encouragement from Ash, even in quite possibly the most impossible situation they could find themselves in. The little watchdog listened intently, while Pikachu cheered him along. Pika Pikachu Pika. Come on, we have to win. Waff. Satoshi barked as it came in front of Ash, linking his mind with Ash's and readying itself for action. Satoshi, I choose you. Ha. Is that little runt of a Pokémon what you're calling out? You're more pathetic than I believed. Giovanni sneered as he snapped his fingers, commanding Niversa to attack. Niversa, Magna Beam. Obliterate them into pieces. Ash, linked with Satoshi's mind, called out his defense move. Satoshi, use your aura and guard us. The awesome power of Niversa's Magna Beam was unleashed, striking full force directly at our hero. But, much to Giovanni's amazement, Satoshi's aura shield held up, completely blocking off the Magna Beam, and leaving himself, Ash and Pikachu out of harm's way. Giovanni stood shocked, seeing his Pokémon's most powerful attack brushed off by a measly-looking floating dog with a clock on its stomach. Ash kept a stoic pose, crossing his arms with clenched fists. Giovanni sneered in an arrogant tone, I must say you're quite impressive, but not up to par. Niversa, Shadow Strike, Ultimate Attack. With those words, Niversa disappeared into thin air, and in an instant, a flurry of hits pounded Ash and his Pokémon, knocking them down nastily in a few hits. Sato. She fortunately had an advantage over dark attacks, and didn't feel much of the hits, but his trainer and Pikachu were down, and hurting bad. The master criminal gloated, without your master, I'm afraid you can't do much. You little mutt. Ha, ha. What's keeping Ash You'd think a guy with a babe like Misty would be more proactive in rescuing his fair dame. Duplica thought to herself. She directed traffic in all sorts of bizarre manners using her officer Jenny Diskwise. Brock and Kid were in an alleyway with the getaway vehicle, looking at and waiting intently for Duplica to give him the signal to start the car to make the getaway. Come on, Ash, Brock thought to himself, whatever situation you're in, you have to come through, for Misty's sake. Kid, somehow linked with Red's mind, started having convulsions. Brock quickly grabbed her, trying to calm her down. Kid finally stopped and gasped, no. He's trying to take over her body. Slowly, Red's dark soul and sentiments began to creep into her mind. She resisted with all her might, trying to keep her thoughts on Ash, the one who had made so much difference in her life. The one who had encouraged her to go on his journey to reclaim his life. The one who had brought so much joy to her heart and soul amidst the sadness in her life, the one with whom she had bonded for so little and briefly, yet so deeply and lovingly in her timeline. Red forced his gaze into her eyes, tearing into her soul, trying to undo her mind and heart. He's my friend. No, he's not. He cares more about his future than yours. You're lying. He's trying to save all our futures. Nonsense, Misty. He's here only to deceive you into caring. No, he really loves me. Think about it, Misty. If he really did love you, wouldn't he have chosen to stay with you instead of going back to his timeline, a timeline where you and him were merely friends? You know nothing of love. With those words, she cried out, NNNOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOOO slowly, whimpering away into a seemingly everlasting spiral of sorrow. I'm sorry, Ash. I tried the best I could. I'll love you, always. Ash got up slowly, seeing his watchdog spar in midair with the behemoth Pokémon, Niversa. Pikachu lifted its little head bit by bit, eyeing the action above. Satoshi kept teleporting away from a flurry of attacks Niversa sent its way. Niversa was noticeably tiring out, and somehow Satoshi was maintaining his stamina. Niversa unleashed a second Magna Beam, only to be blocked by another aura barrier from Satoshi. The small watchdog quickly teleported next to Ash, relinking his mind to him. Ash, we don't have much time. I'm reading Kid's mind and it's telling me Red took over Misty's body. If we don't get rid of this monstrosity and head to MT Silver soon, you and she will suffer a terrible fate. The young trainer thought long and hard, and finally it struck him. Jesse mentioned cybernetic augmentation. Right, Satoshi. Use your antimatter attack. Break him down now. Pikachu, on my cue, jump in and use your electrolysis. Got it, Pikachu. For Misty. Right, Pikachu. For Misty. Satoshi unleashed its most powerful attack, antimatter. With unprecedented power, the little watchdog shot a black particle beam from its small clock, even larger than Niversa's Magna Beam. The beam cut straight across Niversa's face, cut a gash across its forehead while the monster roared in pain. Impossible, Giovanni yelled. With Misty in his heart, Ash yelled, Pikachu, run in and use your electrolysis. The yellow mouse quickly latched onto Niversa and commenced his countdown. Pi, Ka, C C C C C C H H H H H H H H H H H Who. Pikachu's super concentrated electric attack ripped through Niversa, short-circuiting the massive Pokémon's inner cybernetic augments and embedded neural microchips, the very ones Team Rocket was notorious for. Unknown to Ash, Giovanni had subdued the creatures while using his twisted technologies. Niversa didn't obey Giovanni out of any love for him, and soon, Giovanni would pay the ultimate price for perverting nature. Unlatching its claws off Niversa, Pikachu jumped back, with Satoshi forming another barrier, guarding his friends. Suddenly the monster roared a horrendous roar. It twitched and glowed a little, walking in Ash's direction. Sato. She mysteriously lowered his shield and telepathically communicated to Ash and Pikachu. Great strategy, you two. You destroyed the mind control chips embedded in Niversa. You mean? Ash implied. Yes. It's no longer under Giovanni's control. Coming up in front of Ash, Niversa spoke, thank you. I am in your debt. Do you have a request? Ash, looking at the defeated Giovanni, still in shock. His fearsome weapon was freed from his grasp. None, but you're free to do whatever you wish with your former master, in this building. With pleasure. Farewell, Ash. Farewell, Master of Ages. Niversa quickly turned around and faced a scared Giovanni, who was starting to back away. Ash grabbed Pikachu, recalled Watchdog, and ran out the convention hall, not wanting to ponder whatever horrendous fate Giovanni had in store. For Ash, it didn't matter. In his mind, he may have won the battle, but it meant little, for Misty was in danger, and if anything happened to her, the war against the dark forces of Red would be lost. Ash finally caught up with his friends and made the getaway towards Mt. Silver. As they left Viridian City, they looked back, seeing the lumbering 60-story skyscraper. That used to be Team Rocket HQLE by little, into glass and dust. With a heroic voice, Ash yelled into the night, "Come on, you guys. We're gonna save Misty and make it home no matter what." On to Mt. Silver. Good. Red still hasn't arrived. Near Mt. Silver, our heroes reunited, with the tragic exception of Misty, who was in the hands of the dark entity, Red. Everyone stood before the valley leading to the infamous Silver Cave, filled with terrifyingly powerful and dangerous wild Pokémon. It was the perfect natural defense for the stronghold base that stood atop the massive mountain. Ash, Brock, Duplica, Jesse, James, Professor Oak, and Kid surveyed the area. Kid stood at the edge of a small cliff on one side of the valley. She had led them there, and wanted to talk to everyone and make perfectly clear what was going on. Ash asked her respectfully, "Kid, whatever you have to say, do so fast. I want to rescue Misty. Even if I do get back to my timeline, it means nothing if I don't save her." The wind had blown an ominous wind as Kid turned towards the small band and started talking. "All of you listen and listen well. The enemy we're facing is one of powers far greater than any which you have known. I've battled him once before, and he defeated me without effort. Since then I've grown in power, but I still can't match his magnitude." Ash interjected, "Kid, who are you?" "I'm F. Rom, the same mirror dimension as Red as to who I am." "You tell me, Ash." "Huh. Look into my eyes, Ash. Look at my face. Don't you know who I am?" He came up to her and looked at her, taking in every detail and glint. She looked back blankly, awaiting Ash's answer. Ignoring her black hair, piece by piece, all the details came into place: her rosy face, her perfect nose, her delicate lips, and most of all, her glimmering azure eyes. "You remind me of Misty. Yes, I am the Misty from his dimension." Every last one of our heroes facepalted and stared in shock at the recent revelation of Kid's words. "I gained emotions and feelings just like him. I eventually became tired of saying, TM11 teaches Bubblebeam, all the time, and out of that, I became infused with a soul. Over time, Red became the ultimate champion. And I became his secret love. Love was forbidden in our world, and was kept private, even among our kind. Red came to this world with me, the both of us hoping we could live in freedom, but somehow his soul became corrupted in the dimensional warp. I don't want him dead, and I don't want you to lose your Misty. We have to find a way to save both of them, Ash, before they wreak havoc on the world." Professor Oak interjected, "This is all too much for an old man. But I'm in." Brock and Duplica looked at each other and held hands. "We're in this, together. No matter what." Jesse, holding back years of selfish pride, yelled, "What are we waiting for? Let's do it before I have second thoughts." James, happy to see a glimmer of the old Jesse back, shouted, "You heard her. Let's do this." Satoshi jumped out of his Pokeball and stood before Ash. "Ash, Cronin didn't just bring you here with just the purpose of saving your own existence. Him, being the guardian of time, anticipated the catastrophe of Red's arrival, and picked you out of all of human history to confront him in battle. Only you, with the help of your friends, can stop him. Only you as the Master of Ages can stop him. Let us with your courage, Ash." Ash looked towards the stronghold base. "Well, what are we waiting for?" Pika. Everyone huddled as Ash laid out the plan. "Kid, you're able to sense Red's mind. What's he up to?" Quote, "I've known his plans for a while. He plans on eradicating all life from this world by unleashing the power of the Wind Father and the Water Mother." "The who?" Ash asked. Professor Oak quickly answered, "Ancient Pokémon gods, responsible for the creation of all Pokémon kind. Legend had it, their physical union cleansed the earth of angels and demons alike, making it possible for the first people and Pokémon to exist. If Red does what he intends on doing with Misty, he might end humanity and Pokemon kind altogether, if the legend holds true. Kid chimed in, Ash, pay attention. This is where it gets complex. Misty is being used as the body for the Water Mother. She has a physical form in this world, but Red doesn't, the same as I. I'm an illusion as well. In order for Red to become the Wind Father and unite in body with Misty, he needs to take a physical form. Red needs to inhabit a young body, one similar to his essence. Jesse joined in the conversation, Ash, no. Your younger version is in that base. Kid chimed, exactly. Red's heading this way to possess younger Ash. We have no time to waste. Right, guys. We have to divide up into teams. Professor Oak can get direct clearance from Gary inside. Jesse and James can go with him. Brock and Duplica, we'll have to sneak in somehow. Kid, if you have the same powers as Red, then I'll have to ask you a favor. You have to go inside, find and guard my body from Red. Kid protested, Ash, no. Alone I don't stand a chance against him and his dark Pikachu. Maybe, but you can stall him at least. The more time we have, the better. Right. You're right, Ash. I'll leave now, Kid said as she phased into darkness and headed into the silver base. Everyone looked on as Ash took charge of the situation, like I was saying, Jesse. James and Professor Oak can get in through the front since you can get clearance. Once you guys get in, find your way to the time machine and that tank that was holding my younger self and Pikachu prisoner. Get ready to release them and start up the time machine. Make sure to send them back the night I was supposed to start my journey. Got it. James said, we can do that. But how are you guys gonna get in? That's a good question, Duplica shrugged. Jesse, familiar with the base suggested, the only way you can sneak in, if I remember correctly, is inside Silver Cave. You can scale up the waterfall leading into the underbelly of the base, where the time machine is at. But it's impossible to get past the wild Pokemon. Ash looked at the nearby cave. I guess we have no choice. Me, Brock, and Duplica will go through Silver Cave. We'll meet you inside, and if Red and Misty get there before we do, help Kid in fighting him and make sure he doesn't possess my younger body. Enough talk. Let's go. Good luck, James said as he ran with Jesse and Professor Oak into their sports car, while Brock called Steelix and motioned Ash and Duplica to get on for the ride. The car screeched its wheels on the pavement and headed for the lab, while Steelix slithered down the valley headed for Silver Cave. Brock made a wise choice, for Steelix was intimidating enough to keep wild Pokemon from attacking the party. It kept slithering, going into the dank cave, with nothing visible, except for a stream of light shining from the distant ceiling. It seemed like the opening that Jesse mentioned, but now what? Pikachu, light this cave up with your flash. Chew. The small yellow mouse as it glowed electricity from its cheeks. The horrid cave lit up, and much to their fright, Steelix was surrounded by all sides by menacing wild Pokemon. Ursaring, Golducks, Misdreavus, Larvitars, all of extremely high levels. They were attracted to the powerful GLIMMER of radiation coming from Pikachu's cheeks. Ash, Brock and Duplica shivered and were in absolute fear for their lives. Maybe Flash wasn't such a good idea. Ash said. Who's there? Gary's voice barked from the gate intercom. Don't yell at me, you twink. It's me. Me who? Grr. Jesse from Team Rocket. I'm here to check on little Ash and his Pikachu. Strange. I didn't get a call from Giovanni. James fumed. We're here on official Team Rocket business. We fund you, so don't you dare question our authority to have a surprise inspection. I don't know. Professor Oak, seeing his grandson acting pompous, added his authority as well. Gary, it's your grandfather. I'm here with them too. Gramps, what are you doing here? You still owe me my prized Poliwag paddle style GOLFLT. I didn't compete in the PGA this year, and now I'm reclaiming what's mine. I ran into these two on the way. Now, are you letting us in, or do we have to talk to May? Gary shuddered at the mention of his vindictive sister's name, and quickly opened the electronic gate. All right. Come in, sheesh. The three walked into the massive lab. Jessie walked ahead, while James followed quickly after her. But Professor Oak was stopped and reverently greeted by an employee from the Pokegenics lab. Great to finally meet you, Professor Oak. My name's Tracy. I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm dating your granddaughter. May. We just heard you through the intercom. I believe you want to know the progress of her experiments on time travel. She's testing out the machine just as we speak. Wanna see? Actually, yes. Ah, great. Right this way. Tracy cheered as he pulled Professor Oak towards the elevator. Rather enthusiastic young fellow, Oak thought as he was pulled. Ash and friends shuddered in fright as the numerous monstrous Pokémon snarled and advanced slowly towards them. Duplica huddled into Brock, while he held her tightly and snugly, protective of his newfound love. Pausing and thinking for a moment, Ash wanted to avoid confrontation and whispered to Satoshi in the air. Satoshi, come out now. I would throw your Pokeball, but I don't want to provoke these Pokémon. In a flash of ether, Satoshi materialized out of his Pokeball and hovered above all of them. The wild Pokémon quickly focused their attention to the floating dog, and quickly changed the IR faces from ones of anger to ones of curiosity. Satoshi, tell them about our situation. Maybe you can convince them to stay away, Ash said. I'll do better than that. Woof, woof, watch, woof, dog. With those yelps and barks, the wild Pokémon reacted violently. Ash and friends shivered even more and held onto Steelix firmly. Satoshi said, don't be afraid. I've convinced them to help us. What? Much to their surprise, the wild Pokémon quickly walked in lockstep to a nearby lake. Steelix followed them and was quickly recalled back. The three heroes were quickly grabbed by Golducks and led to the edge. Surprisingly, the Golducks got in the water and pointed to their back with their webbed feet. Get on, Satoshi barked, they're taking us up the waterfall leading to the lab. All right, they yelled simultaneously as each of them grasped onto a Golduck, with Pikachu and Satoshi clasping onto Ash's backpack. In an instant, they sped up the lake and, in an exhilarating flurry of water, scaled the cascading torrent of the waterfall. Saturated, they landed smoothly onto the edge of another small pond. Shaking off the water, they climbed off the Golduck's back, while they bid their farewells and ran off into the darkness. Ash opened his eyes and instantly glimpsed above himself. We're here, you guys. Brock, call your Steelix again and make a staircase. You got it, Ash. While Brock ran to the ceiling opening to make a staircase with Steelix, Duplica poked Ash's shoulder. Ash, I don't have enough time to talk to you in length, but now that you'll be leaving, I need you to do me a favor. Please. Yeah, anything you want, Duplica, Ash said in a low tone. Duplica pulled out something from one of her pockets. It was a shiny, rose-colored envelope, with a small heart sticker holding it closed. Ash. When Satoshi let me see into your mind, I saw the one time I was with you guys. I love the fact that Ditto learned to fully transform, and that I kept the Amite house in your timeline, but Brock wasn't in my life, and I swore to myself long ago that I would do whatever it would take to keep him in my life, no matter what. Please, take this with you when you go back to your timeline. Give it to the younger Brock. Tell him I love him. Please. Ash looked at her sadly, seeing the immense pang of sorrow in her eyes. Duplica, you're one of the bravest people I know. You helped me, even if it meant jeopardizing your relationship with Brock. I'll always remember you for that, and I'll be sure to send your love to him. With those words, he took her letter, putting it into his jacket. Come on, you guys. What are you waiting for? Brock yelled, already having scaled Steelix. Let's go, Ash said, motioning to a happy Duplica, her smile reminding him of his own love. Grandpa, you're here, May said, hugging her grandfather, while Jessie stood in front of the time machine, quickly programming the machine, setting the location for Pallet Town, 1 Pallet Drive, and punching in the day when Ash started his Pokémon journey, with the time designated for 3 a.m. The kid was still asleep when Giovanni's grunts took him and brought him here, she thought, and it'd only be fitting he be put back into the bed from when he was kidnapped. And for Pikachu, they would have to sneak him and his Pokeball back to Oak's lab. But how? Gary quickly took notice of Jessie and yelled, Hey, what are ya doing? I'm sending that kid and his Pikachu back to where they belong. But Mr. Giovanni said, Giovanni's dead kid, and so is his crazy plan to take over human history. James chimed in. May stopped hugging her grandpa. What are you doing? Hey, we were hired to take Ash as a time specimen. We can't send him back. We can't. Is that all that I am to you, May? Just a specimen. I thought I meant more to you than that. Ash said, with his friends joining him. Kid, you can come out now. We're here. She quickly materialized from the darkness. I was wondering what took you. Come on, we should hurry. I feel Red's presence along with Misty's. They're in the building. I'm done. The wormhole is opening, Ash, Jessie said. Crack that stasis cell open, Gr. Ab your younger self and Pikachu and let's get going. Right, Ash said as he ran with Brock and Duplica toward the stasis cell. He was about to command Pikachu to use Stonecutter, until a strange, blue mist came out and struck him nastily, sending him back. Hi, lover, long time no see. Pikachu, Brock, and Duplica ran worriedly towards Ash, who was picking himself up, keeping an eye on his assailant. The blue mist quickly moved before him, slowly morphing into the mirage of a mystical being. She was perfectly blue, even her face was icy. The girl wore draping, priestess-like dress, suggestive of a water nymph, with an extremely exposed cleavage draped in transparent cloths. Her eyes opened, piercing into Ash's gaze. No, Misty. It's me, Ash. Without warning, a black mist quickly formed next to her. Red's familiar form materialized with celerity, and quickly joined the levitating goddess, standing in front of the stasis cell, which held the kidnapped, younger Ash and the younger Pikachu. Ha 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 ha. She answers not to that name anymore, father. Address her now as the Water Mother, your new queen, and my delicious mate. Red, no. Stop your madness. Kid called out, catching his attention. Why are you doing this? You know in your heart of hearts you don't want this. I know you lost your title as leader of our world, but destroying another world just to become king and leader of it won't bring your title back. Red hesitated and stood in fear and talked to Kid, Misty, I wish things would be the way they used to be, but darkness has enveloped my soul. I lost and I can't bear the shame of going back to our world. Kid answered back, Red, I loved you, not because of your title, but because you had real love in your heart, for me and our Pokémon. Please come back with me. We can share our love on the Cerulean Cape like old times. She teleported to Red, grabbing his hand with pleading eyes. Red looked into her eyes as everyone in the room stood in suspense. Red, all of a sudden, twitched and said several contradictory things, as if his soul was possessed. NNOOOOOOOO. Kid save me. It's taken over me. Grr. You'll never get him back, Water Tramp. You'll have to defeat me. Ash's attention was cut when Satoshi quickly telepathically talked to him. Red is possessed by darkness. Quick, while he's distracted, command Tosses cell open. Pikachu. Crack the stasis cell with Stonecutter. KAAAACC Chew. Both Misty the Water Mother, Kid, and Red were taken by surprise as Pikachu ripped open the stasis cell. Brock and Duplica quickly ran to grab younger Ash and Pikachu. But the possessed Misty quickly blew them away with a magical, icy gust. Red was still struggling with the darkness in him, and Kid took the opportunity to grab Ash and Pikachu, teleporting them in front of the time machine. Misty the Water Mother, seeing her master twitching in confusion, attempted to get to younger Ash and Pikachu back, but was stopped by older Ash. Misty no. Get out of my way. You disgusting liar. Liar. Don't you remember, Misty? It's me, Ash. You're not a Water Mother. Red's using you to take over the world and kill all life on the planet. Please snap out of it. You're lying. Red loves me enough to stay with me. You just want to go back to your timeline and forget all about me. Possessed Misty cried, her tears forming droplets of ice as they slid down her face. Misty. A cautious Brock and Duplica ran to Kid, each grabbing the sleeping younger manifestations of Ash and Pikachu, and running towards the wormhole. Come on, you guys. Get in there. Jessie yelled. Duplica, put little Ash back on his bed and take this Pokeball and recall little Pikachu back in it and wait for us. We'll be joining you soon. Those words the last thing they heard. Brock and Duplica quickly ran into the wormhole, the echoes of Red yelling and Ash pleading with the possessed Misty reverberating in their heads as they sped backwards into the darkness of space-time. Briefly disoriented, they found themselves on a carpeted floor, both slowly opening their eyes in the room that they found themselves in. It was a small room, with tons of adorable Pokémon dolls and toys. Both of them smiled as they saw they were in the right place. 1 Pallet Drive, Pallet Town, 3 a.m., on the very morning the day Ash started his journey. We're here, Brock let out gently. Careful not to wake the slumbering Ash on his back. I hope everyone's okay back in our time, Duplica whispered while grabbing the Pokeball Jessie gave her and recalled the sleeping Pikachu. Brock put Ash back into his bed. Careful. Which one, Duplica? There's a bunk bed here. Well, I'm guessing the one that looks like it's been slept in. Use common sense, Brock. Right, Brock said as he climbed up the small stairs and put little Ash on the top bunk, pulling the covers on him, and careful not to shake too much as he climbed down. Duplica, what about Pikachu? Isn't he supposed to be picked up by Ash tomorrow? Keeping that in mind, Duplica quietly opened the room's window and slipped her sultry body through, gaining Brock's attention. Duplica, where are you going? I remember where Oak's lab is. I can sneak in and put Pikachu where he belongs. But how would you know where to put him? That place is huge. I'll figure it out. I'll be back, Dup. Licka whispered as she kissed him and scaled down Ash's house and ran off into the dark roads of Pallet, with Pikachu's Pokeball in hand, running in the direction of Oak's lab. Good luck, Brock whispered, seeing her off into the night. Gary, May, whatever you've done under Giovanni's employ has wreaked havoc in the history of the world. I thought you were raised better than that. I demand as you, our grandfather, for the both of you to destroy the research you've done on time travel. And Tracy, if you want to get on my good side, you help them or else. May protested, but Grandpa. Do it, Professor Oak roared. With thundering words of authority, the Elder Oak intimidated all of them into rushing into their archives, and the three of them quickly ransacked their files and threw them into a nearby shredder. Oak hid behind a corner, watching the face-off between Ash, Misty, Red, and Kid. Jessie and James readied themselves in case they were about to be attacked. Suddenly the two of them were knocked down by a strange force. The mysterious creature pounced in front of them, in full view of the ex-Rocket execs. Pikachu quickly took notice and sped its way to their protection, seeing Ash W. as still busy pleading with the possessed Misty. Meowth. The salivating Persian stood in front of his old friends now turned enemies. Gazing upon them with the most dreadful glare, Persian got back on its hind legs and spoke. If it were only so simple to turn back the clock of time and relive the past, James. And Jessie, why try to redeem yourself now? Your heart is hopeless. And as for you, Pikachu, prepare to breathe your final breath. Taste your last drops of life, rat. Ha 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 ha. Ash and Kid turned their eyes toward the maniacal laughter coming from Persian Meowth. Red and Misty were strangely comforted by the evil bellow and regained their evil essences. Oak stood back in horror as Persian Meowth started glowing brightly. Its form started changing, and slowly it morphed in front of their eyes. Misty and Red made an evil smile as they welcomed their new ally. Siam, Siam, roared what used to be Persian Meowth. Everyone stared in utter disbelief, while the brand new evolution stood before them. Ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Red snarled in arrogance, well now, I guess our imminent battle has just gotten interesting. Ha. With those words, Red and Misty phased into shadows and sped into the swirling wormhole, with Siam following. Pikachu, follow them. Don't let him get to my body. Ash yelled as he and Kid jumped in chase into the wormhole. Jessie, do something. You can't let that thing get to little Ash. James said, barely standing on his feet. I got it. James, push those two yellow buttons on the left quickly. Jessie said, still on the ground. James hurriedly took a few weak steps and before collapsing hard on the floor, pressed the buttons. What did I just do, Jess? Finally, I see the end of this wormhole, and my new body. Red boasted as he sped toward the end of the wormhole. Seeing an enlarged image of Ash's room in Pallet. Younger Ash slumbered away peaceably in his bed, dreaming of which Pokemon he was going to choose tomorrow, completely unaware of the monumental danger that was coming toward him. But he was quite safe. Little did Red know he was in for a surprise. Red's gaseous essence slammed hard against the end of the wormhole. Unable to cross into the Ash's bedroom. Grr, what's this? Red growled as he pounded incessantly against the transparent wormhole exit. Misty the Water Mother quickly stopped in front of her master. What's wrong, my lord? We can't go through. Grr, you froze the slipstream in wormhole, James. It's a failsafe device May installed to study particle movement. Nothing can get in or out. But now it's up to Ash and his friends to defeat those weirdos, and all we can do is watch on the monitor. And cheer them on. This'll be fun. James smiled, his old silly persona coming through again. Right. Jessie smiled, remembering how much she enjoyed James' playfulness. They grabbed a nearby monitor used to check in on wormhole activity, seeing Ash and friends finally arriving at the end of the wormhole, with Red, Misty, and Siam attempting to break through. Professor Oak quickly ran to the two and kneeled down, curious as to what they were looking at so intently. Come on, Ash, show 'em what you got. Jessie and James cheered, while Oak gave them a weird look. You two certainly are cheerful under such dire circumstances, Oak said with a big sweat drop. That's our job, Jessie and James said simultaneously with glee. Hey, stay away from my body, Ash yelled as he raced across the twilight environment of the slipstream. Strange dark colors swirled around them, as Ash, Kid, and Pikachu approached Red, Misty, and Siam, slowly turning their wicked gazes at them. Water Mother, whoever or whatever you are, let Misty's body go. I love her and I want her back. Red, if you want a fight, I'll give you a fight. Love or no love, hi Pika Pika copy chew copy. Stay away from my master, or you'll have to answer to me. The levitated toward them, finally landing directly in front of them. You'll pay for breaking my heart, Ash. Your crimes against the younger and older Misty will not go unpunished. I am the Water Mother, redeemer of all who have been scorned. Prepare to battle. I've beaten you before back in our dimension, and have controlled your heart, even making you shirk your gym duties for what you believed was our love. Now, taste my steel, water wench. Call out your Pokemon, little rat. How you cling to your pathetic trainer. I pity you, but no matter. Prepare yourself now, rat, as I shall teach you the true pain of friendship. Your little flesh shall adorn my newly evolved claws. Roar. The heavy winds of the slipstream blew across them all, each pondering their next move. Ash grabbed Satoshi's Pokeball and threw it onto the dark floor, unleashing the small watchdog before him. They linked minds and quickly assessed their situation. Satoshi, Misty's possessed by the Water Mother, and wants to fight me, and I thought it best to call you. How do we save her? I don't know how to break this to you, Ash, but she's right about your crimes. Huh, think about it. All the time you spent with the younger Misty, all the fighting, all the name calling, all the secrecy. Have you ever stopped to think about what it all meant? You may be a grown-up now, but you're still thinking like a kid. Think deep and hard, Ash. Understand what she means, and then you hold the key to saving her. Go Jinx, Kid said as she threw her Pokeball. Red, no matter what, you'll always be the little boy I knew who defeated me so long ago. The one I fell in love with when I grew up. Whoever you are that stole his heart, face me now. Red calmed down like a child. No. We can't go back to the way things were. We can't. Pikachu charged his electric sax, as he and Siam, formerly known as Persian Meowth, circled like dueling fencers, staring each other down, their minds sharper than freshly cut razor blades. Ash and Watchdog stood before Misty, who was gathering strong energies in her hands, summoning a fierce attack ready to be unleashed. And Red held out his hand, and little by little, two long ears started morphing out of his arms. It morphed slowly, until the mass jumped out before him and opened its glowing red eyes. Chew, it said. Kid trembled in fear as she uttered the monster's fearsome name, Dark Pikachu. No. Ha 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 ha. The slipstream howled its haunting winds as our heroes faced off against their dark adversaries. Without warning, Misty shot out a powerful, chilling breeze of ice, powder snow. Ash was taken totally by surprise. But Satoshi quickly formed his aura defense, blocking her powerful ice magic. Huh. How did she do that? Satoshi quickly answered, Ash, be careful. The Water Mother doesn't need Pokemon to battle. She is what blessed Pokemon with their magical abilities. She knows all forms of water and ice attacks and can summon them at will. Then we have to fight her. Satoshi, use Howl attack. But please try not to hurt Misty. Hool. Red, gloating at seeing Ash heartbroken in his fight against the Water Mother, focused his attention towards the Misty from his dimension, and called his attack, Dark Pikachu. Cripple her Jinx with Body Slam. Kid reacted, Jinx, use Ice Shield. Dark Pikachu darted and used its Body Slam, surprisingly cracking through the Ice Shield, ramming hard into Kid's Jinx, sending it reeling back in pain. Jinx, quickly before it's too late, Ice Punch. Jinx thrust her fist into an icy ball and rocked a slowed dark Pikachu on the chin, knocking it on a critical spot. Flying into the air and falling in front of Red, though surprisingly dark Pikachu got up and prepared for another attack. Impressive, Misty. You've gotten better than the last time we fought in our video game world. But your efforts are futile to say the least. Pikachu, summon your dark energy. Recover. Causing shock and chill in Kid's heart, Pikachu regained whatever HP it lost and struck back into its fighting pose. Kid gasped while Red kept laughing. What's the matter, Misty? Shocked. Not by a long shot. Ha ha ha. Siam unleashed a stringy ball from its mouth, shooting it at Pikachu. Hairball attack. The shining ball headed toward Pikachu, while Pikachu summoned its agility and easily dodged the explosive ball. But with unprecedented speed, Siam quickly ARED next to a surprised Pikachu and rammed his knee hard into Pikachu's gut, sending it flying back in piercing pain. Pikachu landed on its little feet, as a little blood trickled from its mouth. In its mind and heart, he wanted the command of his trainer, but he saw he was busy trying to save Misty from the twisted wiles of the Water Mother. Ah, the little rat yearns for his master. Soon you'll be dead, with your master at your side. Pikachu, seething with fiery rage, turned back his gaze to Siam, boiling with anger, the courage building up in his little soul. He couldn't take the threat on his master's life lightly. Taking Siam completely by surprise, Pikachu vanished into thin air, moving close to the speed of sound. The surprised Siam was quickly torn on the chin by Pikachu, who had used its minuscule body like a hard fist, body slamming straight into Siam's jaw, cracking a bit of the jawbone, sending Siam flying on its back. It quickly jumped back on its feet, licking the blow. OD from its lips and feeling the giant pain from its cracked jaw. Grr. Why you worthless rat. I'll grind your bones. Pika choo choo copy choo choo pie. The more you threaten my master, the more bones I crack. The Water Mother, still holding Misty's body hostage, was blocking Satoshi's howl attack with acid armor. A thin veil of poisonous liquid held back the sound waves Satoshi was unleashing. This gave Ash time to think about what Satoshi meant about his crimes and how they might hold the key to victory and bring Misty back. The memory of when he first met Misty came back into his mind. It flooded into his mind like no other. In an instant, he remembered his wet face when he was fished out of the water by Misty, their first fight in the Pokémon Center, and their quibbles over her bike. It snapped into his mind like a light bulb. The bike. That's it. Satoshi, can you link my mind with Misty's? Woof. Huh. Ah. In a flash, the Water Mother shrieked in pain as Atashi used its mystic abilities to cram Ash's astral projection into Misty's brain, already inhabited by the Water Mother. Ash's body fell to the ground along with Misty's, while Kid and Pikachu noticed but were reassured by the Satoshi. They're okay, you two. Focus on your battles. Kid's Jinx was too exhausted, sweating profusely while Red's dark Pikachu still brimmed with powerful electric and dark energies. Readying itself for its final attack, Pikachu, use our specialty finishing move, Nice and Sweet. Soul Bolt. The smoky evil-looking Pikachu instantly shot a gigantic, bright, purplish bolt, smashing loud into Jinx. Fainting it instantaneously, while Kid recalled it and snatched another Pokeball from her waist. Go, Quagsire. Her Pokémon materialized before her, and her pick couldn't been any better. Quagsire was both a water and ground Pokémon, immune to electric attacks. She had in her hands a powerful Pokémon, strong on attack and defense, and an even match against Red's dark Pikachu. Impressive, Misty. You've grown in power since we last frolicked on Cerulean Cape in our dimension. Yet you're more suited to your romantic daydreams than for Pokémon battles. Ha. No matter how much you insult me, I know in my heart the real Red would never say such things. He loved me, and respected me as a powerful trainer. Whoever you are, I'll release Red from your grasp, even if it means my death. Quagsire. Slam attack. Pikachu, show this girl how dead her love is. Black Fist attack. Quagsire attempted to use its tail to slam Dark Pikachu, but it proved too fast for it, and rammed his little clenched paw in its Black Fist attack. Though Quagsire was hit, its defenses were rather heated with its slam, knocking Dark Pikachu away while it recovered from the attack. Arc Pikachu fell back and readied itself for another command from his wicked master. Siam unleashed one of its most powerful attacks, Fury Slasher. Unsheathing its razor-thin claws, it quickly ripped away and launched at Pikachu. The little mouse, reminded of its previous battle with Persian Meowth, devised a plan, taking a cue from his master, already a proven tactician. It dodged Siam's attack continuously, but near the very end, let one of Siam's claw tear a cut on its shoulder. Pikachu made a fake wince in pain, and slowed down in anticipation of Siam's next attack. Like Pikachu predicted, Siam tackled him furiously and knocked him down. Bracing himself, Pikachu played possum, anticipating Siam's next move. The monstrous cat Pokémon grabbed Pikachu with its mouth, ready to mangle the seemingly limp Pikachu as it had done before in their last fight. Murmuring with the mouse in its mouth in arrogance and conceit, Siam purred, "Any last words, rat? Pika, fry, ka-ach hu." His pride became his downfall, for Siam held death in his mouth, for Pikachu summoned and unleashed the very attack Satoshi had taught him the night they arrived in this alternate future, electrolysis. The streams of electricity coursed through Siam's cells, ripping through every atom possible. Time stood still for Pikachu as Siam's jaw unhinged slowly, releasing him from Siam's fangs. The little mouse fell on its feet tired and stood back, looking at the petrified Siam. One leg finally crumpled, then the next, and in a loud thud, Siam fell face flat on the ground, bleeding immensely from its nose and mouth. Pikachu stepped forward tired, facing what used to be Meowth. "Pikachu Pie, I'm sorry, Meowth. Why do you apologize for victory, rat?" Siam purred, inching ever closer to death. "Copy Cha Pika Cha Pie, you're dying. I never killed before," Pikachu said, holding back tears. "Don't apologize. You fought well, and one of us had to die. I was once in the company of friends who loved me. But I took them for granted, and look at how I turned out. I know of your time displacement. I was a part of it with Jessie. Promise me, Pie, Pikachu, promise me you'll keep us from becoming what we became in this world." With those words, Meowth reached out his paw, sheathing back its claws. Pikachu reached for it, grasping on a toe. With his hand, he felt Meowth's pulse die down slowly. Until he felt nothing. He held Meowth's paw firmly, remembering the Meowth he used to know, wetting his paw with his tears, alone. "I'm back," Duplica said, fumbling back into the window. It was easy to put Pikachu back. The lab's Pokeball handler was easy to find. "I can't even put my hand through, Duplica," Brock said, punching his gloved fist on the surface of the wormhole. "While you were gone, the wormhole froze somehow. How are we gonna get back?" "Be quiet. Don't raise your voice like that," Duplica whispered while pointing her index finger in Ash's direction. The little kid was squirming in his bed, and startled them when he started talking in his sleep, raising Bulbasaur. "That'd be really simple. It's perfect for beginners." Rock and Duplica sweat dropped and kept in absolute silence while little Ash continued babbling in his sleep. "Is this supposed to happen?" Brock whispered to Duplica. "Shish." Little Ash nudged his head against the shelf above his head, causing his Pokeball-shaped alarm clock to slip into his hand. He sat up in his sleep, choose it or lose it, ah. The little alarm clock fell down on the floor, breaking on impact. Is this supposed to happen, Brock? Won't he be late for his Pokemon journey if his alarm broke? Aw, man, now what? Huh. Ash's consciousness awoke, inside Misty's mind. Strangely enough, he noticed he was in his old clothes and had reverted back to his old age, except his league cap was still missing. Everything seemed hazy and heavily foggy. He got up on his feet and started walking, intruding upon a path in what seemed like a heavy forest leading somewhere. Pushing his way past a thick brush, he found himself in front of what seemed like a river, covered in mist. But there was something more. His attention was quickly drawn by someone fishing close by. It can't be Misty. He couldn't have been mistaken, for her redhead and skimpy clothing gave her away. Even if her back was facing toward him. Yet the vision seemed strange, for her old red bike was there, and she was patiently awaiting a bite. It dawned on Ash what he was seeing. This was how it was before he came into her life. He quickly raced to her and called her name. Misty. Huh, who are you? What'd you want? Can't you see I'm fishing? It's me, Ash. Don't you recognize me? I'm afraid I don't. Please leave and quit bothering me. Ash, wondering what to do next, grabbed Misty's bike, catching her attention. Hey, what are you doing? Hey, that's my bike. Mustering all the strength in his arms, he rolled the bike into the river, intensely angering Misty. What did you do that for, you slimy little worm? Misty said, quickly pouncing on Ash and pounding on his small frame with her fists. Ash took every hit he could take, until Misty finally drew some blood from Ash's nose and lip. A frightened Misty took notice of what she had done and withdrew herself, falling back gasping in horror of her own violence. Ash sat upright, brushing away some of the blood from his busted lip and nose. Misty quickly crept close to him, looking with concern, shedding small tears as she gently spoke. Are you okay? I'm sorry. I got so angry. I don't know what came over me. Don't cry. I'm sorry. It was my fault for destroying your bike. I just wanted your attention. Why? Why did you want my attention? Misty said, grabbing Ash's hand, covered with blood. Cause I love you. No. Ash and Misty streamed back into consciousness. Misty held her mind while she convulsed, using the power of Ash's loving words to thrust the Water Mother out of her heart. The Water Mother goddess lost her grip on Misty's body, and came out finally, being driven out like the misguided deity that she was. Misty lifted herself and called the only word in her heart, Ash. Misty. Ash called back, his heart jumping in the highest joy. They ran to each other and hugged for what seemed like minutes. Even if it was really only a few seconds, crying in each other's arms. Pikachu lifted his reddened eyes in Ash's direction, seeing he was with Misty. Chaw, Misty! Pikachu shouted as he ran towards his master, jumping into his arms and crying along with them as well. Guys, I'm glad you're safe, but we don't have much time. Misty, here's your Pokeballs. We have to help Kid. Kid, the girl Rocket Kid, Misty shouted in surprise. Yes, she's on our side. Long story, come on. Ash said, grabbing her hand and pulling her to the action, while Pikachu followed them. Kid's Quagsire was at a loss. It was tired out, but fortunately, Red's Dark Pikachu was out of power points for its fearsome Dark Energy Recover move, having used it several times against Quagsire. Red, ever the impatient adversary, called Dark Pikachu's Black Fist once again. The shadowy mouse phased in front of Quagsire, delivering a haymaker of a hit, making it twirl around before fainting on the ground. She recalled Quagsire, seeing her last hope against Red dashed to infinitesimal bits. You lose, Misty. Red sneered in a low tone, taking small steps toward her, with Dark Pikachu following close to him. Prepare to pay the ultimate penalty for challenging the leader. Hold it, Ash yelled, standing with his arms crossed, with Misty standing next to him, and Pikachu on his back, awaiting his master's orders. Red, you've lost. The Water Mother's gone, and if you want Kid, you're gonna have to go through US. That's right, Misty yelled. Pika, bring it on. Moaning and wincing in pain, Kid was pulled away by Misty, as Ash, Pikachu and Satoshi faced OS Dark Pikachu. They stood before each other, plotting their next move. The slipstream winds blew through Ash's wild strands, while Red turned his league cap around, much like Ash did when he was younger before he would unleash his warriors, his Pokémon. Go, my Dark Pikachu. Pikachu, I choose you. Misty and Kid looked on while Ash's Pikachu stood in place awaiting Red's first move. Red shouted, Pikachu, use Black Fist. Get ready, Pikachu, Ash spoke to his yellow friend, on my call. Dark Pikachu rapidly appeared in front of Pikachu, summoning the full brunt of his Black Fist. Pikachu instinctively dodged it. Agility and Electric Tail. Pikachu cranked up his agility and swiftly caught Dark Pikachu off guard, whipping his Electric Tail full strength on his opponent's back, swatting him on the ground. But, with the force of a monster, Dark Pikachu quickly recovered and uppercutted Pikachu, sending it flying through the air. Yet Pikachu gracefully landed on his feet, though racking with pain, but awaiting Ash's next command. Pikachu, reflect. Shield yourself, Ash yelled, while whispering to Satoshi, Satoshi. How can we save Red? What is it that's making him so evil? Woof. The Dark Pikachu. It is the source of Red's evil. You have to defeat it. Right. Pikachu, Thundershock. His little sacks pulsed with lightning. unleashing a small bolt in Dark Pikachu's direction. It easily absorbed the small bolt, giggling sinisterly, and it starting summoning an immense concentration of dark energies. Satoshi barked frantically, "Ash, Dark Pikachu's preparing for its ultimate attack. Quickly, call Pikachu back or it will certainly die." "No, Satoshi. It's now or never." "Pikachu, on my call," Ash said, awaiting Red's command and whispering to Satoshi yet again, "Satoshi, whatever Dark Pikachu's about to throw, ready your aura shield." "Woof. Got it." Red snickering, "Prepare to die, every last one of you." "Pikachu." Dark Thunder. Almost simultaneously, Ash, with all the courage in his soul, called out, "Pikachu, flash." Timing it perfectly, Ash's Pikachu flashed its cheeks brightly in Dark Pikachu's eyes, severely stinging its eyes with the whitening gleam. Dark Pikachu was blinded, completely unable to aim its deadly Megabolt, and crying in the pain of its overloaded electric sacs. "Pikachu, quick attack now." Using its alarming speed, the rodent warrior slammed hard against Dark Pikachu, making him face his master, who quickly changed from a face of conceited glee to that of pure, astronomical terror. The tables were turned and there was no turning back. No. From the impact of Pikachu's quick attack, Dark Pikachu unleashed the overflowing dark energies in Red's direction. Kid watched in fright as she saw her love, Red, shocked and electrocuted by his own evil Pokémon's ultimate attack. Red, no! Kid yelled, running away from Misty. Towards Red, finally sliding next to him, holding up his limp body. "Chaw!" Dark Pikachu yelled, quickly losing its link with the one it had possessed. Little by little, the small dark mouse morphed into a strong gas. Misty and Pikachu ran to Ash, while the creature convulsed. With an otherworldly roar, the monster glowed into a fiery explosion, blinding everyone as they all hit the dirt. Huddling together, the explosion quickly dissipated, as our heroes slowly opened their eyes. All that stood before them was a small, glimmering purple ball. "What's that?" Misty asked. "I don't know," Ash whispered. "Pika, huh?" Satoshi floated swiftly toward the little ball. "It's the dark essence that controlled Red. It's been condensed into this ball. Don't be afraid. Come Ash, Misty, Pikachu, and look at this." Kid held Red in her arms, crying intensely, oblivious to her comrades. "Grab the ball, Ash. Do not be afraid. You've earned it. With your heart, bring back those who have fallen," Satoshi said to his master. He slowly clutched the ball, giving him an odd, tingling sensation as he touched. Kid continued crying, until she noticed the body in her arms starting to squirm slightly. She took notice, her hopes soaring like doves as Red's colorless form regained the life and love it once had. Hi, Misty. Red, you're alive. Of course I am. Where are we? What happened? Exclamation mark quote. Long story, Red, I'm just happy to see you again. I love you, Red. Same here, Mist. I love you too. Our three heroes looked on, seeing Red kissing who they knew as Kid. Passionately on the lips. Ash, why did he just call her, Misty? Misty asked. Remember when you said you liked me no matter what timeline I was in? Yeah, well, you didn't know how right you were. They did it. They defeated them. Professor Oak cheered, but cheered alone. Jesse and James were not without sorrow, for Meowth had perished in his fight against Pikachu. They tried to understand and accept the downfall of their old friend, and knew Pikachu had no choice. But they reassured themselves that when Ash returns to his timeline, fate would reunite them with the old Meowth. The Meowth they loved so much yet lost so long ago. Jess, stop crying and release the slipstream freeze so Brock and Duplica can make it back. I feel your pain too, but we'll see the old Meowth again. When we return Ash to his timeline, he'll prevent us from ever becoming what we became, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Right. Wait, look, Jessie said, looking at the slipstream monitor. Pikachu tugged at Ash's leg, Pika. Ash, look. Ash looked at what Pikachu had pointed its little claw at. The dead body of Siam was glowing, and shining. The strange dark ball Ash held in his hands. Its powers reflected the heart of the trainer, and Ash's goodness was so overpowering, even life itself was returning to all who had lost it. After the glow subsided, all that was left was the small form of a Meowth, the old Meowth they once knew. Its twisted evolution was gone. Pikachu. Meowth's back. Our old Meowth's returned. Come on Jess, let's go meet him. James cheered. Smiling with magnificent joy, Jessie unfroze the slipstream and ran in, James following, while Professor Oak stayed back, seeing the loving reunions occurring on the monitor. Meowth. Meowth. It's us. Huh. Jessie. James. What happened? Meowth spoke, a little woozy from the magic of the dark ball. Oh, don't ask any questions, and promise us you'll never evolve again. Okay. Little Meowth said, happy in the arms of his old partners in crime. Back in Ash's room in Pallet, Brock kept punching the surface of the wormhole, until he fell in. Whoa. Duplica followed him and quickly took notice of all her friends in the slipstream. Guys, what happened? Duplica asked. The ultimate battle, guys. You missed it. Ash smiled. Yeah, but the good guys won as you can see, Misty laughed, holding onto Ash's arm. Is everything back in place? Ash asked Duplica. Yup, you're back in bed and Pikachu back in Oak's lab, but your alarm broke, and Brock was trying to fix it but wasn't able to. Don't worry, Duplica. That's supposed to happen. Ash reassured her. Well, that's a relief. I was about to leave a wake-up call on your answering machine. Brock laughed. Everyone laughed. Invictorian started making their way out of the slipstream, but not before taking a look at the transparent end of the wormhole. Ash slumbered away in the peace of the night, wondering which Pokémon he was going to pick for his Pokémon journey. Little did he know his journey would mean all the difference in the world, to a small Pikachu, to a band of rogue Pokémon thieves, to a girl crazy romantic of a gym leader, and most of all, to the heart of a lost, red-headed girl. Back in Cronin's dimension, all the watchdogs rejoiced in seeing all had gone well in Ash's mission. Howls echoed through UGH out the hallways of the crossroads of time, as Cronin looked upon his mystical hourglass, seeing him and his friends rejoicing in the good of their hearts. Ash is truly a hero. He's restored the history of the world back to normal and defeated the Dark Deus all. Let it be told, one day he shall be known as the Master of Ages, the ultimate Pokémon Master. Every trainer shall revere him in full. Lo, his loving and courageous example for eons to come. But now it is time to close this chapter of history. Now it is time for the Master to come home. The ground shook. The entire world was shaking. Ash and Pikachu were returned back to the night before they started their journey together, and the timeline was forcing itself back to normal. Satoshi, what's going on? Ash asked while everyone gasped in terror. Bracing themselves in the lab. Time and history are changing back. This reality is about to cease to exist. Quickly Ash and Pikachu, say your goodbyes and send your love, for we have to leave soon. With those words, the little watchdog gathered all his energy, and summoned a wormhole leading back home, to his timeline. Darkness enveloped the air, while everyone stood shaking with faces of sadness. Seeing their newfound friend and his Pikachu about to leave. Promise us, Ash. Promise us you'll protect us from our darker tendencies. Defeat us in battle every chance you get. James shouted with a smile. Don't forget us, Ash. Do so and you better get ready to prepare for trouble. Jessie grinned. Pikachu, remember what I told you. You'll be my friend, no matter what I do. Meowth yelled. Ash nodded his head and reassured them with his tears as the execs of Team Rocket disappeared into the darkness, as the changing timeline was slowly erasing our heroes from existence one by one. Brock and Duplica came up to Ash and hugged him. Ash, even if we've known you for only a short time, you've become the best friend we've ever had. Promise us you'll help make our lives as happy in your timeline as you have in ours, Brock spoke. And please Ash, keep the promise you made me, Duplica said as she waved. Leaving those words, Brock and Duplica phased into the darkness, holding hands before they were swallowed by the non-existence. Misty stood next to Ash as the others quickly phased into the darkness. Ash saw Professor Oak, his old rival Gary, his first crush May, Andy his brief traveling partner Tracy vanish into the darkness as well. He wanted to say goodbye as well, but he knew in his heart he would see them again, even May. Red and Kid ran up to Ash and Misty, thanking them for their exploits. Thank you, Ash. You've taught me how love can even overpower failure. But remember, you are my father. Never forget that. I'm only a video game character. Guard the essence you hold in your hand. For it wields powers so strong, they corrupted my weak soul. Only someone of your heart can hold it. Thank you, for everything, Kid said, holding Red up as they phased back into the darkness. Goodbye, Ash, was all he heard as they disappeared into the darkness of non-existence. All that was left was Misty, still standing next to him. Drawing upon all his courage, he grabbed Pikachu, who quickly ran to his shoulder and pounced into his backpack. The gusts of the changing timeline were coming ever closer, and Ash and Misty were alone, and didn't want to say goodbye. Ash, Misty whispered, holding back her tears, did you really mean what you said when you were in my mind? Ash said blushingly with sadness. Every word of it. Ash, before you go, I want you to know. You've made me the happiest girl in the world. When you go back to me, the younger me, promise you'll make her as happy as you made me. Love her like you loved me. Misty quickly grabbed 3 Pokeballs and gave them to Ash. Give these to her and promise me you'll help her become her best, too. Misty said, breaking down into tears, I don't wanna go. Don't cry. Please. Don't cry. Ash said, hugging her tightly, it's hard enough saying goodbye. I don't know when I'll ever see you again. You'll see me again in 5 years. Wait for me. I'll be waiting for you. I love you, Misty. I love you, Ash. Those words echoing, they quickly embraced and pressed lips together in their most heartfelt kiss, one that would echo in Ash's heart for the rest of his life. Their hearts beat as one, pounding intensely in their souls. Releasing their kiss, their faces touched, while their tears mixed together. As she disappeared, she gazed into Ash, saddened eyes. Slowly phasing into darkness, as Ash and Pikachu were slowly being pulled back through time, hearing a faint voice as they slipped into the darkness of time. Don't forget me. Epilogue. The farewell. His body had dwindled. Whatever maturity he gained, he had lost. Slowly, his body was reverting back, the effects of the sands of time taking a toll on his and Pikachu's bodies. He fell into a deep sleep along with Pikachu. Blackness swirled in their mind, dreaming of the events that unfolded in their recent adventures. Don't forget me. Don't forget me. I'll be waiting for you. Wah. Ash, are you okay? His eyes opened, and slowly came back into focus. It was night, a small fire roared next to him, flickering away, reflecting off the face of the person in front of him. Gently, she came into focus. First came her sea-green eyes, then her milky pink skin, and then came her hair, wrapped up in the old pigtail he had missed for so long, and finally, her Togepi in her arms. She was tending to him, wetting a moist cloth over his fevered head. Misty, you seem surprised. What happened? Don't you remember? You got knocked out by that explosion in that Pokemon battle you had with that super nerd. But, we were wondering how you got into those strange clothes. Huh, Ash murmured, looking down at his attire. What he thought may have been a dream came back to haunt him. For he was still in the same clothes Satoshi gave him on his last adventure. They fit loosely over him, for he had shrunken back to the body of a 12-year-old. He gasped, where's Pikachu? And Satoshi? Misty answered, Pikachu's sleeping over there, but, who's Satoshi? You're scaring me, Ash. He must have returned me to the moment I left. Ash whispered, where's Brock? Did I hear my name? Brock said, coming back from the other side of the fire, great to have you back, Ash. Dinner's ready. Ash, overjoyed to see the two, bowed his head and started breaking down into tears. Misty crept closer, putting one of her hands on his shoulder, while Brock ran close, kneeling down next to him with the concern of a brother. Misty spoke, Ash, what's wrong? Yeah, Ash, we're your best friends. Tell us, Brock said, looking down. A lot. It'll take all night to explain, and you probably won't believe me. We trust you, Ash. Whatever you tell us, we'll take it to heart. Brock said, please, Ash, we're here for you, no matter what. Misty gently spoke. The night was long, and Ash grabbed Pikachu and cradled him into his arms. The fire lit his gentle face, as he told the most amazing story to his longtime friends, Misty and Brock. Their faces stood in disbelief as Ash unfolded the heavy, emotionally charged details of his exploits in the alternate future. They ate, though their appetites were squelched by the tale of the terrifying journey he had just undertaken. The hours passed fleetingly, for they couldn't believe what they'd just heard, but found themselves wanting to believe him. For he was their friend, and the last thing Ash would do is lie to them. Pikachu awoke, seeing the faces of Misty and Brock, quickly darting away from Ash and jumping into Misty's arms. She smiled at first, but quickly turned her stare back to Ash, still in shock of what he had revealed. And so that's what happened. I know it's hard to believe, but I brought something, for the both of you. Take them, and believe me. Ash reached into his coat pocket, pulling out the small envelope Duplica gave to him to give to younger Brock. Brock, take this. It was given to me by Duplica. She wanted you to have it. Brock took the envelope, quivering as he grabbed it. Misty looked on until Ash called her attention. Misty, this was given to me, from the Misty in the alternate future I was in. Eat these. Misty took the Pokeballs Ash was given, with a blank expression on her face, hiding her disbelief and shock. Ash got up and called Pikachu. It ran to its master. Happy to see him after their dangerous quest. Have time with your gifts. If you need me, I'll be taking a shower in the nearby pond. Please, try to believe me, Ash said, grabbing some fresh clothes from his backpack and pacing with Pikachu to the pond. If you don't mind, Misty, I'll read whatever's in this envelope in private, Brock whispered. Yeah, I'll go then. It's better if I open these Pokeballs away from here. I'll be back, Misty said, quickly grabbing her red backpack and running off into a nearby grove. She kept walking rapidly, stopping to sit on a small stump, with a small stray. Leading to the pond where Ash was bathing. Grabbing the 3 Pokeballs, she threw them simultaneously next to the stream, each of them revealing a Pokemon. A Dratini, Berluga, and Tadwart appeared before her, with the moonlight shining on them. Because they were thrown back in time, they had devolved back. Though Berluga and Tadwart were Pokemon Misty was unfamiliar with, she smiled lovingly and ran to hug them. But quickly took notice of an envelope in Tadwart's mouth. What's this? She thought to herself as she grabbed the mail the small Tadwart held. She fumbled in opening the letter, with curiosity and fear inspiring her as she slowly read the letter inside. Dear Misty, if you're reading this, then Ash has made it back to his time safely. By now, he might have told you about all the strange adventures he had in the future, and you and Brock are probably in disbelief. Well, this is just to reassure you that what happened was for real. Be proud of him, Misty. In the short time that I've known him, he touched my heart in ways no one ever did, and I don't want to let go. But he wanted to return to you because in his heart, he wanted to see you again and live his life with you the way it was meant to be lived. The night that I'm writing this, I'm forcing him to go out on a date with me. Well, actually, he owes me a date. I'm just gonna remind him. Anyway, take care of these Pokemon. Promise me you'll become the best you can be with them. Love, Misty. P.S. Please, tell Ash, no matter what happens. I'll love him always. It's in my handwriting, Misty thought to herself, I wrote his 5 years from now. In that letter, she saw a haunting reflection of her soul. For so long, she kept her feelings secret. She denied them for so long, her own immaturity the perfect cover. She remembered her adventures in the Orange League, when she had her small crush on the charming Danny, then when she was wooed by Rudy, and even considered staying there with him on Trovita, leaving Ash once and for all. Why didn't she? Rudy obviously cared for her and showered her with attention and affection, something the Ash she knew would never do. But why? Why did she want to be with him? Crying, she recalled all her new Pokemon and followed the small stream. She had to know the answer. Brock opened his letter, fearful of what he was about, reluctantly glancing at first, but his attention caught quickly by some alluring photos accompanying them. Dear Brock, you must be wondering why in the world I'm sending you these sexy pics. Just a taste of what you're missing. Now that I've got your attention, I wanted to confess something. In my timeline, we were a perfect team, but from what Ash tells me, we don't end up together in your world. I just wanted to tell you that. I care deeply for you, and if you're interested, I'll be waiting for you at the Amite house. Look me up. Duplica. Duplica. I didn't know. Brock whispered under his breath, she's beautiful. Brock was flattered by the pictures, but slowly, he gained in his heart an uncovered infatuation. He remembered when he first met her, saying she maybe was a bit young for him, but, little by little, his heart became attached to the idea. He crept into his sleeping bag, staring into the starry night sky, fostering memories of her deep inside. "Maybe I will look you up," he said, drifting back into sleep. With the moonlight shining upon the pond, Ash rested in middle, his face half submerged in the cool waters. Weary, he shrugged his shoulders back and forth, feeling the ache of his small muscles, until he heard a splash behind him. But didn't look back. The sound of water rushed toward him. He thought it was Pikachu, until he heard a whisper directly behind him. "Ash, huh, Misty, what are you doing here? We need to talk. There are things you haven't told me. I've told you everything. Now leave me alone, please." "Ash, you can't lie to me. You never told me how you convinced the older Misty to join you. Like I said, I beat you in a Pokémon battle and you wanted to come along. That's all. What's this about a date then? One of the Pokémon you gave me had this letter, and she mentioned a date. Now, tell me, what happened between you two?" "No, I can't tell you. Look at me, Ash. I'm your friend. Tell me," Misty yelled, grabbing Ash and turning him around, facing her. Ash was totally taken aback. For before him, Misty was completely nude, gaining Ash's absolute attention. "Wah, Misty, why are you naked?" "Because I wanna know the truth, and the only way I sue. LD think of getting it is for the both of us to be like this. Naked. Trust me, Ash. Face me." Ash started shedding tears, for he knew he couldn't hide his feelings, and swiftly swam to her, grabbing her by the shoulders while she blushed. "The truth is, we fell in love, in the future, and I'm trying to accept the fact that it's gone. I just can't. Look at me. I'm 12 again. I could understand falling in love when I was 17. But not now. Look at the two of us. Could you ever say you love me, Misty, at your age?" With those words, Misty started crying uncontrollably, realizing the truth of Ash's words. Getting up and running away from him, grabbing her clothes and dressing up in some nearby bushes. Ash gave chase along with Pikachu, making their way back to the campsite. She sped and curled up into her sleeping bag, wetting her pillow immensely with her tears. Ash came to her, touching her shoulder, but receiving an icy shrug from Misty. "Go away. Leave me alone," Misty cried and sniffled, muffled by her pillow. Ash quickly ran back to his own sleeping bag, and cried just as much on his own pillow, thinking of how much he cared for Misty, and finally revealing so in the pond. Their tears brought them to sleep as the night ebbed away. Pikachu was unable to sleep, feeling sad for both Ash and Misty, having fallen witness to their moment. Though racked with sadness, Ash found himself dreaming and reuniting with an old friend. "Ash, huh, it's me, Satoshi." It was his friend's voice, though he wasn't the small watchdog anymore. "You evolved into a Cronin." "Yes, I gained enough experience points during our adventure, though you seem sad." "Yeah, it's the girl, isn't it?" "Yeah, I don't know how to feel." "Ash, I wanted to thank you for helping me evolve. And encouraging me to fight even when the odds seemed impossible. And I thank you with this truth. Love comes and goes, but friendship is eternal. True love grows from true friendship. You and Misty have that true friendship. Live your youth, and let it grow. I'll always remember you, Ash." Cronin hugged Ash and disappeared. Goodbye. Early morning crept, the sweet sun shining its rays on the grassy horizon. Brock was the first to get up, packing his things and getting ready to tell his friends of a major decision he decided upon last night. Misty was the second to get up, remembering her painful sleep. Staring at Ash longingly and sadly, her heart broken by what he said to her last night. She clutched her red backpack, quickly fixing herself up, until Brock interrupted her. "Misty, I needed to tell the both of you something. After yesterday, I've thought a lot about what Ash told me about Duplica. I've come to a tough decision. I want to journey back to the Amite house, and I want you guys can meet me there when you continue on your journey together. I'll miss you, Brock, but we'll see each other again. Please, tell him when he wakes up." "Yeah, goodbye Brock. Send Duplica our best," Misty said, hugging Brock as he left into the darkness of the woods. Before he left, he took a look down at the sleeping Ash, saying to him, "Thanks. Thanks for pointing me the right way. Goodbye, my friend." Misty saw him disappear into the woods, heading for Frontier City. They had journeyed to the outlands of Johto, and in the end, she was all alone with Ash. She ran up to a small hill close by and sat there. Looking towards the distant horizon, the rolling grassy plains leading into the unknown province of Sion. Ash wanted to journey there, but Misty quickly found herself crying again, for in her heart, she knew she had to go on her own journey as well, and follow her own path, and maybe become the Pokémon master she had become in the alternate future. She sat there, awaiting for Ash to wake up and come to her, and bid her final farewell. Ash awoke with Pikachu, shaking their heads and cleaning themselves up. As he put on his prized league cap, they quickly took notice. That they were alone and worriedly searched around, relieved to see Misty on the nearby hill, with the dawn's rays glimmering on her as she looked at the slowly rising sun. Ash hurriedly gathered his things and scrambled up the hill, making noisy, crunching footsteps as he came behind her. She closed her eyes, knowing he was behind her. Misty. Ash, hi. Hi, where's Brock? He left. Huh, he gives you his goodbye. He wanted to go back the Amite house, alone. Oh, I guess he wants to see Duplica. Yeah, Ash, but he said to visit him one day. That'd be great. Well, I'll miss him, but we should go, Misty. Sion's several miles ahead, and if we're gonna get there. Ash, please stop and listen. I have to leave too. This has to be goodbye. Ash started shedding tears along with Pikachu. Goodbye. But, why? I've followed you for so long, now I have to follow my own path, become the best I can be. Before I go, I just wanted to say, you'll never know how much you've meant to me. Ash protested, but why? Why are you? Please, don't go. She got up with tears streaming down her face, holding a crying Togepi in her arms. You're not making this easy on me. Can't you see how much I'm hurting? But I never paid you back for your bike. I still owe you. You don't owe me anymore. You paid me already, with yourself. Ash was choking on his own tears, wondering what to say next, until finally bowing his head, putting his hand on his head, removing his most prized accessory, his lead cap. Misty was stunned and touched beyond words by what he was doing. Gasping as he took off the cap and put it on her head, making it ever harder to say goodbye. I'm not the kind not to repay a debt. This is, for your bike. Think of me, and you're out there fighting a gym leader, and know that, wherever you are, I'm with you. At that very moment, Ash grabbed Pikachu and ran down the plain, not wanting to look back, his heart racking with the ultimate sadness. He had started his journey from the very first day with her presence was the only thing next to Pikachu that he could count on. Over the course of his adventures, he gained feelings for her. Until finally he was forced to deal with them. At that very moment, he realized his journey would have been meaningless without her. He stopped in one spot, looking at the rising sun, pausing and looking down, crying. Crying until he heard a call in the distance. Ash, Misty, he said, turning back to look at her, the sun glimmering her across her face and body. Ash, come with me. Their hearts soaring, they ran to each other, for he saw in her the greatest friend, a true friend, and she saw in him the very same. He had made an incredible sacrifice for her, putting his league cap on her head, showing he had wanted to be with her always, no matter what. They let go of Pikachu and Togepi, and hugged powerfully, finally falling onto the yellowed plains together as the sun rose. Their silhouettes adorning the tall grass as their faces came ever closer, finally locking in their most heartfelt kiss. She froze in his arms at first, finally sinking into and falling limp from the passion of his lips. She moaned in passion as he held her tightly, holding her back and waist as he continued, finally breaking away from her lips and brushing away her tears. They sat back up, where he sat behind her. Looking towards the dawn, Pikachu and Togepi joined them, their sorrow fastly turning into happiness as they saw their trainers loving each other like never before. One day, we'll be able to understand how we feel, Misty whispered lovingly. Yeah, one day, we can be like this, always, Ash said as she reclined into his chest as they watched the sunrise, the dawning of a brand new chapter in their lives. I guess this means you're buying dinner. What? But I gave you my league cap already. That's good for starters, but you've gotta learn how to treat a girl. But we're not even official yet. I think that kiss said plenty. Did not. Did too. Did not. Did too. Was all that was heard throughout the day, as the sands of time smiled down upon them in blessing. Thanks for watching guys, please make sure to leave a like, share and subscribe. Also don't forget to check out author of this story, a separate row in full view.